Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G. And unfortunately, my co-host, Nicole Coley Weber, she was sick today. So we're going to wish her well. But tonight we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KMPL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, please hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, too, at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus, obviously, rock out to some Bumblefoot and so much more. Today, we have an awesome show for you tonight. We have Preston Dennett and Dolly Safran talking to talk ETs and UFOs, and maybe, just maybe, answer the question, if are we alone or why are we here? Then in hour 3, we're going to jump into some of the latest news, so make sure you stick around for all that, because tonight we are going deep, and it can only happen right here on Spaced Out Radio. So as we jump into this, we're going to go ahead and bring in my fill-in co-host for the night. I think you guys know this guy pretty well. It's the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Terry Hall. How you doing,
What's up,
sir?
Rob?
Hey,
How
man,
you doing,
ready
buddy?
to get this thing going, man. Just so excited to go ahead and jump the after hours off. You see, we have the new intro going on here, so everything is beautiful. It's a new era, it's a new thing going on, so I'm totally excited about that.
Yeah, buddy. I was breaking you in last night. Told everybody last night at this because I filled in for Tim last night. How excited I was about today. It's just unfortunate that Nicole was unable to be with you this evening.
Yeah, definitely. We wish her well. I heard that she was under the weather, so we should definitely, hopefully, get her back sometime soon. But I don't want to delay anything here. You know, this is the first show that I'm doing here, so I appreciate you guys holding me with soft hands here, Debster. And let me see. Let me go ahead and go back, actually, and get our guest in today. We have none other than Mr. Preston Dennett and Dolly Safran, both hosts of the Lightgate podcast. So glad to have you guys here, Preston and Dolly. We have met each other before, so I'm so glad to have you guys back. How are you guys doing today?
I'm great, Rob G, and congratulations, you got a show. And nice, get to be on your first one. That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And you, Preston, how you doing?
Doing great. Yeah. Having fun. Can't complain. Thanks for having us on. It's awesome.
Yeah, you know it. You know it. So I kind of want to just we've talked about so many different things when it comes down to the books that you've written, Preston. You have a lot of Amazon bestsellers. So what I wanted to do, if you didn't mind, was talk to you about. I reviewed some of your shows that you'd done recently on the Lightgate podcast. Um, for those who I'm sure everybody knows pretty much a lot of your background, but what have you been doing recently as far as UFOs go? Do you have any books that you're cooking up, or where are you at?
Yeah, I just put out a new book, Humanoids and High Strangeness. That was, let's see, just last month. So it's pretty much hot off the press. 20 true cases of face-to-face encounters with a wide variety of humanoids, and coming from all over the world. I'm pretty excited about that. Not just the US, certainly across the US, but Canada, Argentina, let me see, Peru, there's a case, England, France, Germany. So lots of different places all over the planet, lots of different types of ETs, grays, mantids, human looking, little blue beings, tall whites. So that's where I've been working mostly, but always working on new projects.
Definitely, and I guess we'll definitely talk about some of those. You just named a lot of super interesting subjects there. So, and how about you, Dolly? What have you been up to lately? I know you're with the podcast. You got been doing a lot of great stuff over there.
Yeah, working on the light
right now.
gate and working up a sort of a presentation for the Outer Realm coming up in November, and had surgery 3 days ago. So yeah, I'm limping around. Had my knee redone. Yeah.
Hope you feel better.
It's already all right. Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to jump into some of these. I mean, we can start off with some of the story. Well, I don't want to give up the details of your book, so we'll save that for that. But I know that you have recently talked about. You have some shows on your web on your YouTube page where you talk about things like taking aboard a UFO, 5 true cases. One that stuck out to me was the French UFO wave of 1954. I hadn't previously heard about that. What was that all about?
Was that the My Friends deal, in France?
No, I think you're talking about the friendship case of Italy.
Friendship case. That's what it was, Preston.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a real famous case. I haven't really dived deep into that one, but the French wave is one I've always wondered about. Not a lot of people know about it, which is surprising because this is probably one of the most intense waves in terms of time span and the events that occurred in UFO history. I mean, it seriously is, because in 1954, and Dolly and I were talking about this as to why, September and October, there were about 1,000 cases, probably a lot more than that, but reported cases of not only UFOs flying over the entire country of France, but mostly France. I mean, there was other places in the world, Italy and England and stuff, but not like France.
Well,
for those 2 months. These objects actually came down and landed. Humanoids were coming out. That's what I really focused on. And I got like 50 cases, which is the tip of the iceberg in just those 2 months. I mean, it's crazy.
What you said you and Dolly were discussing it between the two of you. What made them focus in so much on France rather than anywhere else?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. You want to try? Dolly clued me in a little bit.
My contact Talata brought it up, and he was trying to focus on why they make waves, like you call them waves. They're literally pointing a finger at things that are going on in the areas where the waves are. And one of them is, if you do a little bit of back searching and looking into scientific exploration in those areas, they were working with magnetism then. And there were several French companies on the ground in those wave areas that were working on antigrav, literally antigrav, and that's 1954. Okay.
Was it that the same year that T. Townsend Brown published his paper on anti-gravity? Was in 54.
Ooh, I should have looked that up. It wouldn't surprise me because Dolly is pointing me to, she found a paper of showing all the magnetic and gravity and anti-gravity research. I did find a quote from Stephen Greer saying basically that October of 1954 was when we really learned how to work with anti-gravity. Of course, I don't know if that's true, but I think there is a connection there because the real kind of smoking gun for me was CERN, which is, the particle accelerator. It was actually founded and formed. Well, I mean, took a while to get it there, but it was created and founded in October of 1954 in France. So
about the same time that all the newspapers and televisions, funny enough, stopped talking about anti-gravity. It was about the same time that they all said that they kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it wasn't the Nazis who did it. It wasn't nobody who did it. They didn't even back engineer well enough to know what they were doing until the 50s. And that's the point. Okay. And what they did back engineer was very fledgling. They were learning the basics of it, and they were trying a lot. And they had it outsourced all over the planet. I mean, anybody who wanted to work on it was given a chance. And yes, that's when real suppression of information started to really go down. And ET wasn't having it, and they started waving at that point and showing off. It was a way to let the world governments know that, oh, no, we're watching you. We know what you're doing. And that's what's going on.
Yeah, that's what it was just a way to publicize their presence, but it goes beyond that.
Yes.
So our wave in the 40s here in the States was caused by us manipulating atoms, and their wave was the manipulation of gravitational waves, I would imagine.
Right. Well, we were doing it too. It's just that it was outsourced to them, and they were heavily working on it there, while we were over here working on some of the mainframe work of it and other aspects of back engineering. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some other ways that, I'm taking a second look at some of these UFO waves because it was November of 1957. There was a rash of car stalling cases across the world, which really changed the way a lot of people viewed the UFO phenomena. This was right after Sputnik was launched.
Right.
So there was an absolute correlation there, I think. Now I'm wondering about, because there was a huge wave in 1965. 1973 was the year of the humanoids. I mean, it just went crazy that year. And I haven't looked into that yet, but I suspect there's something going on in that year.
So what is your view about the I don't know if you'd even call it a wave, but the recent reportings, for instance, of the Las Vegas ET leading into what they talked about in Peru. Then you have this Mexican UFO mummy thing going on. Do you feel like there's a current wave going on, or are you in tune on anything that are we in the middle of something like that right now?
I personally think there's a number of things going on here. One is that the media is kind of a monster and latches onto whatever is the current, food of the day, so to speak. And UFOs are hot right now, so anything about UFOs gets a lot of media attention. Also, I think there's an element of propaganda going on here, and that the news that reaches us is very carefully manipulated and controlled to put forth a certain narrative. I mean, Dolly might have an opinion on this as well, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. ETs, okay. ETs are not physically here anymore right now. A couple of years ago, they bugged out. Everybody left. And it goes back to the fact that our poles are changing. Our magnetosphere is down 40%. It is not safe for them to fly here, period. The end. The governments know it, and I can tell you how you can figure it out. the world governments were warned off going to the moon after the Apollo series. Nobody went back to the moon. Everybody kept saying, why aren't we going to the moon? Why? Nope. That's because they were told no. And the minute ET left, because they knew what's going on now, they are now flying back to the moon because they're going to go try to grab whatever they left behind, which is nothing, but they can try to get some more stuff to back engineer. They are way, way, way low on their abilities, even with the back engineering, because they don't have the technology that ET uses. So they're approximating it. They have craft that do look like ET, and they do fly them, but they're very limited. And anything you see now is part of that false flag movement. They want you to believe it's ET. The national report is going to go to their national security threat. They're already working on that narrative. And you're going to wake up one day and there's going to be an all-out ETs are dangerous, we're being attacked, blah, 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 blah. And all you're going to see is their back engineered stuff coming at you. That's the point. So.
Well, Michael has made a point of almost stating that you can tell the difference between the ET craft and ours, at least up until a certain point. But now that we have 3D printing, do you think it's going to be harder to distinguish between what we've built, our quote unquote ET craft, and actual ET craft?
That's misinformation. They couldn't 3D print a craft if they tried. The metals incurred is not printable. They don't have that ability. Anything you see is going to either be matte black because of the tracking ability of matte black that we have to lower radar, okay, signaling, okay. So most of their stuff, like the TR3Bs, they're all straight flat black. They have a couple other types. One is rectangular, and it looks flat, and when it moves certain ways, it takes on different shapes, but it's only perspective that causes you to see it differently. They can be matte black, but they can also be silver. But when you look at them, you're going to see seams, you're going to see rivets, and they cannot move like an ET craft moves. They're giveaways, dead giveaways to it.
One thing I am worried about is the 5G and the holograms and holographs.
Yeah.
Because they can do stuff that would probably fool anyone who's
looking
up at the sky and sees some of these craft flying by. Because if you look at what they are showing in the public arena already, with whales going through gymnasiums and flying around, some of these advertisements with cars coming out of billboards and huge people flying around, I mean, it looks real. So this is absolutely concerning, and they could certainly fool people. Yeah, pretty easily.
Up down, sweetie.
So then I guess with Dolly, what you're saying is that you said ETs have left here a couple years ago.
Right.
So then I guess we could look at the Peru thing as just a nothing burger, or the Las Vegas event as well. Is that
the Las Vegas event is a nothing burger, absolutely nothing burger.
Okay.
And the Peruvian thing, the mummy, that is not what they look like. That is no.
That was absolutely my first impression. I'm like, well, I've never gotten a description of an ET like that. Granted, these are 1,000-year-old mummies, but
and ETs don't lay eggs. I'm sorry, they do not. Okay, go ahead.
Did you guys happen to draw the parallel between the Dogu, the Japanese Dogu figurines, and the appearance of the Nazca mummies?
Now that you mention it, that is kind of interesting, but I need to see the science on these alleged mummies before I'm going to put forth any opinion on them.
Yeah.
Because if it's true, I mean, I think it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And previous things like this kind of were debunked, or certainly have not been accepted.
Right.
So I'm on the fence with that one, on the skeptical side of the fence.
Right. There's also a lot more to the Nazca lines, by the way. They don't show you everything that they've seen of them. How high up you go gives you a bigger picture of what's out there to look at from height. And ETs, they were leaving messages all over the place, and they were showing you how their craft operate under certain circumstances. And you should do your homework. You should go look up the Nazca lines and look at them from almost space and see what you see, because it's quite different than the perspective changes with each
Yes.
so many miles out. And that's important. Everybody needs to look at that and go, you know, it's really important.
I
Okay,
spoke with Antonio Huenes about that. And you know who Antonio is, don't you, Dolly? And
no,
Preston?
no, I don't.
I do. I think he's French. I think he's a researcher. He's been in the field forever.
For a long time. And he actually started in Peru, believe it or not, Preston.
Wow. Okay.
But he he's been doing it longer than Jaime has. We'll just give him that. But he's been a journalist, and kind of a down the middle type of guy. He hasn't been an opinionated type guy. He's been reports down the middle, just like we do here. But when it came to the Nazca mummies, he said as far as he knew, as far as the provenance went, that the provenance was solid on them. Anything past that, he wasn't willing to comment on.
Well, that's something I do know that, you know, he and I used to submit articles to UFO Universe magazine and a bunch of other magazines, and I always respected his stuff. I think he is a good researcher. So if he says that, I would stand by it. But we will see how this rolls out, because it's unusual. I was really encouraged to see that the subject is being brought up with the Mexican government in a serious way. But really, mummies from 1,000 years ago, let's talk about current events. How much impact it's going to have.
And I guess that takes me to another question then. So what is the future state then? So if we're not being visited currently, is there a plan for them to come back at some point, or what is the outlook as far as you know about that, Dolly? What can you tell us about that?
They will be coming back. They're just waiting for our poles to roll over and do their thing. We have a lot of things to face between that now and that point, though, because our planet is going to go through a lot of upheaval. You know, we've got earthquakes, we've got storms, we've got flooding, we have fire, we have all kinds of things going on that are occurring because of the pole shifts. And we're looking at the fact that our sun is in solar maximum right now. We're popping CMEs off that are pretty profound. If they hit up in the X-class range, which we almost had one 2 days ago like that, but it glanced us, that can knock our grid down. And I mean, they know that an X-class CME up into the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th, you know, power can knock our grid down 10 miles deep straight into the earth. We'll be Flintstones by then. People need to learn how to survive, and we need to be helping each other and taking care of this situation. It needs to be openly talked about, and the government's here of giving you nothing but silence on it, and they've created some situations that are not true. One of them is global warming, and they're going to insane levels to push their narratives, and it's a big jumble. And I mean, we got 8.4 billion on this planet. If we go down, the CME knocks us out. It's unsustainable for almost everybody. You know, think about it.
Well, Dolly, do you think that if ET, let's say, parks on the White House lawn, or in Red Square in Moscow, or wherever, do you think it would finally get us to the point of thinking of ourselves as Earthlings, or would we still have the international and would we still have borderlines, I should say?
Yeah, it's we've created this mess that we're all in right now. Okay, our lifestyle, our societies, all of it, the governments that have ruled over us for thousands of years during this particular iteration. Every 12,000 years it changes because there's a big calamity. Have really not done anybody any favors, because we should all be evolving. We should be have a lot more abilities. We should be smarter. We should be planning to help one another. There shouldn't be divisions between us. Them saying opening the borders in one world, people, they're talking about their one world, us being their one world. In other words, that's a total mastery thing going on. They want power over everybody. They know what's happening, and you're jumping through hoops now because been planning on this for a long time. I mean, 100 years ago, they knew this was coming. They were getting proof. They proved it during the Apollo series on the moon because they found glass, which is a micronova of the sun. They know the sun overheats. They've got Betelgeuse out there in 2019 that popped off. So they know sun's micronova, and they know we have a 12,000 year cycle here for this. Everybody should have known about it throughout our lifetime. I mean, I'm 65 now, and I've known it my whole life because of who I am and who my father was. We should have been prepping for this. We should have all been working on this. It's a nut house, and it's because the 1% that think they rule us and own us and have power over us want to survive this, and they don't care about us. We're collateral damage to them.
And that's one of the reasons behind the UFO cover-up. And frankly, there already has been disclosure. We don't need our governments to do it. But if you look at the amount of evidence out there, I mean, this is why we're doing this show, because we all know UFOs are real. There's no doubt about it. If you look at the evidence objectively, throwing away your prior beliefs about what you think this is, there's enough physical evidence in the form of eyewitness testimony and photographs and films and metal fragments and landing traces and medical effects and implant removals. And I mean, we could go on and on. The evidence is there. Most people believe in this subject. So I think we're way past the point of needing our governments to say this is real, or even the ETs coming down and putting out a display. Because how many displays do we need?
Right.
Honestly.
So then you feel disclosure is done then. Do you feel that this is more of a push towards confirmation rather than disclosure?
I think it's a push toward making them look like the bad guys, and that they're coming to get everybody, that they're going to take over, and that they're going to create a national security event worldwide where it's us against them. And they'll use their own craft that they've back engineered to prove it to you. And the technology that they've taken back engineered to this. When that CME hits, and it's not far off, I mean, it's within the next year, 2 years, okay? And when it hits, all y'all are going to be fighting to survive, literally fighting to survive. And most of us know where those underground bases are and stuff. And they'll be, arranging themselves so they can get in them. They don't want you fighting them for it. They just want you out of the way now. And it's coming. And if you critically take a look at what's been going on for the last 25, 30 years in this country and around the world, you can see that they are committing genocide everywhere they go. It's not funny anymore. And people need to wake up. And the only reason that they're admitting this much is because they know we're waking up to it. They know that we have disclosure. They know that ET has shown themselves to enough people. They're getting kind of, what the hell, that's why.
Yeah, and it's strange that you say that because to both of your points, Preston and Dolly, I actually did a show recently on the top secret government and just showing so many examples of, because a lot of people like to say that the government can't hold water. They couldn't hold the secret like this. And I actually proved the point that there's so many examples of them doing exactly that, holding the secrets, and then they have a government a continuity plan that guarantees that they move forward in the event of ET or whatever may happen.
Yeah.
And they have these huge doors that they'll shut, and they'll be on one side of them. We'll be on the other side, fending for ourselves. So I thought that was really, cool that you brought that up, because I actually made that point not too long ago myself. So
yeah, and they haven't really kept the secret of UFOs very well. I mean, yes, there's a cover-up. It's easily proven, but look at how many people are talking about it now. So it's been a disastrous failure.
Well, with who we have in the room right now, all of us have been doing this for quite a long time. This is something for Preston and Dolly. The last two events that I've gone to in the UFO community, I've noticed that the people that have been brought in, say in the last 5 or 6 years, basically since about 2017, a lot of them say they've been brought into this kicking and screaming, especially the ones that are having the repetitive type dreams. that are just over and over, or kind of like where you can set a drink down this evening on a table and you go back into your dream tomorrow evening and that it's sitting there. And but I've had them tell me that it almost feels like they're being abducted every night.
I
Is
want to
that
speak to this. This is a big deal to me. This is a very big deal. You have several situations going on at the same time. The first one is this: we're taking heavy loads of gamma radiation. We're taking heavy CMEs, solar, wind, everything right now from our sun. The very first thing it does is it messes with your brains. It derazzes you, okay? You can't take that kind of energy in your brain and not suffer from it. People with mental disorders or emotionally disabling disorders, are the most vulnerable of everybody because it gets them first. They're very vulnerable. Then the second thing that's coming in, even intelligent people, if you're not protecting yourself from it now, you should be. Okay. Then there's number two. MK Ultra has not died. It is still alive. People call it my lab now, where you're being messed with by the governments of the planet. And I'll tell you how they're doing it. It's not hard to figure out. Their technology is way out there. And Elon Musk tried to stop everybody recently and said, this is bad. It's out of control. And he wanted to stop the bloody thing, and he can't. So now Congresses are supposedly working on new laws to govern AI. It's already too late. The thing is out of control. One of the things is this. It's a quantum computer, AI. It's plugged into everything everywhere. They have a neural net up there. They have an energy source for it where it can tap anything, anywhere. And I want you to be aware that it's psychic. ET uses AI, biological AI, to do their work for them in deep space because it's dangerous. They're psychic because of it, and they have back engineered that ability. They can talk to you through your bloody phone. You're hooked up to it. You don't even know it. They can agitate you. They can piss you off. They can do almost anything they want to because you're vulnerable to it. So that's the second biggie. And people who are being MyLabbed, and that's what I'm calling it, MyLabbed, on a global scale, are ramping up now. It's getting bad, and they're going to use it to their narrative. They're going to make you believe that ETs are out to get you, and they're going to kill you. And all these vulnerable people are their targets to do this from. That's the next thing. Sounds crazy, but it's true. It's completely flips me out that nobody's figured this out. What's 5G, 6G, 7G, 8G? It's all the way up to 12G. This is technology that's outside your house every so many feet because they want it that concentrated. They have it in every emergency device, your phones, everywhere. They can hit you with a solid stream of don't do this, don't do that, stop. They can talk to you while you're sleeping. If you leave your Wi-Fi on, you're vulnerable to it, period. Do y'all not know this? Have you not figured it out? This bothers me a lot.
Yeah, look
Well,
into
Dolly-
the history of mind control, and for that matter, subliminal advertising.
Right.
It's super effective. We are being manipulated on multiple fronts.
I don't know how familiar you are with some of the personalities that are on the show,
Okay.
but we're discussing one in particular.
Okay.
And this was a completely different scenario that happened to this particular family.
Okay.
The family was all together. They had a documented, photographed, and taped sighting. It was 2 discs in the sky. The discs opened up a portal. Let's just say Tic Tac came from the portal, but the people that are being affected by these dreams were the ones that actually gazed into the portal. It was like they had some sort of download that happened to them. And these are the kind of people that I was asking about.
Yeah, they're seeing seven-dimensional holograms. They're being contacted psychically by this AI that's going on now, and they're structuring it so you don't have to know this person. It could be 100 miles away, but they coordinate who gets to see what and who gets to hear what. This is massively coordinated. I'm telling you, they've been practicing this stuff for a long time.
So then I would think that, and it was just an assumption on my part, but so many of the new people that have been brought or let in or drug into this have a particular skill set that seems to be the kind of skill set that is allowing us to move the football down the field, or maybe work with the government on the project that they want us to move down the field to get us to look right while they're working on the left.
Very, very much so. It's smoke and mirrors. You're exactly right. And they will use anybody and anyone. They've been using human beings as guinea pigs for a long time in multiple arenas, from pharma to psych, all of it. They've done terrible things to humankind. Yes.
That's a lot to take in right there. I mean, when you really think
It's a
about
big statement on my part. You're exactly right. Yep.
So, let's say, I mean, what would be for the people who would be perpetrating
Knock it
this on
off,
us? What
both
would
of
be
you.
the real end
Knock it
goal
off.
for that?
The both of you.
Wait a
Stop.
minute. Hold on.
Go lay down.
What would be the benefit for them to pull something off like this?
To make you run to the cities where you can become prisoner to them or annihilated. It's easier to kill people in big groups. They know that. To make people believe that this is really happening, to frighten you to death, to make you controllable, to run you like a deer in the headlights. That's exactly why. They want to survive this. They know who's going underground, and we're all in the way. That is serious business. Serious business. No?
Well, yeah, I mean, you
look at the laws that are being. Think about it. We're on the verge of another huge lockdown, and y'all don't realize how serious it is. One of the things that was should have been talked about, and it's not, is about a year and a half ago, they passed a law in this country that gives the World Health Organization absolute dominance over us, can control us if we have another epidemic. We have to do what they say to do, and NATO will walk in here with guns and threaten everybody if we don't. Do you not know this? Look it up. Do your homework. It's on the books. It's out there. It's findable. This is what's going to happen, and they're gearing up for another world pandemic as we speak. This is not funny anymore. If you look at all the land that has disappeared, all the things that have burned down from Canada all the way down the west coast of the U.S. into the east, Hawaii, oh my God, people are reporting serious things. They burnt down big, huge processing plants for beef and pork and chicken and all of that. I mean, we're unsustainable right now. If we have a cold winter, y'all are messed up because nobody's going to have food next year because there's not enough nitrates in the soil or gettable to farm anything. Guess where all our nitrates come from? Do you have any clue? Who's at war right now that we're backing right now with Russia? Think about it. They have all the nitrates over there. We do not. Our land is disappearing. It's being bought up by huge corporations. And I mean, like big guys are taking it. Why? What's the point? We're supposed to be helping one another and sustaining one another. And here we are with lost anarchies in the streets. Police are being shut down. It's nuts. And you think we're okay. And you don't see what's coming at you. That bothers
Dolly,
me a lot.
I've got a trivia question for you, Dolly.
Sure.
Who do you think owns the most farmland on planet Earth?
Bill Gates.
Oh, you got that one.
Yeah, I did. Sorry.
No, I was gonna ask. So, what changes this then? Like, or is it changeable? Is there a way to?
I don't know. See, this is like if you went to college, you learned about thesis and antithesis, right? The pendulum back way. We're all the way up in antithesis. That's full on anarchy right now. We are in a state of anarchy, and it would take everybody waking up at the same time and turning our backs on the governments and saying, "Nope, not doing it. Stop now." Okay, that's the only chance we have. Then we have to work on surviving what's coming at us, physically surviving it. ET can't come back until we get on the other side of this, and they'll land, they'll come in mass, and they'll pick everybody up. They wanted to before this, but they watched us allow these people to cause all these problems, and they're not touching us with a 10-foot pole until after it happens. It changes your perspective to be in the middle of anarchy and chaos at the end of your rope. before you can be saved. Sometimes we're not saving ourselves, and we have to try. They have to let us. That's how this all works. We're autonomous.
Dolly, Dolly, Rob and I both grew up in the eastern part of the greater Los Angeles area in the 80s. We've seen anarchy up close.
Yeah, so is Preston. Yep. Let him tell you about it. Oh my God.
Real anarchy, exactly.
Yeah.
Real time, real life anarchy. So with that being said, President, I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you how do you navigate through information like that? What approach do you take in trying to figure this thing out?
Well, I do what I think all of us should do is investigate it. Dolly started talking about CMEs, and first thing I did was start looking it up. What is the history of CMEs? The Carrington event in 1859 was a big one.
Yeah, that one. Wow. That was a big one.
Right. And Dolly talked about that. I certainly looked that up. I had already known about that one. But I started looking up the whole history of CMEs and investigating that. The history of our own government and their handling of the UFO phenomenon I'm very familiar with. But if you look outside in other arenas of how they've treated soldiers, not well. If you look at all the various industries, who's controlling the planet? Where's the power actually being held? We all need to look and do our own investigations to figure out. Because I can tell you the contactees that I am talking to, including Dolly and many, many others, are getting the same messages. The same darn messages that our planet is in trouble, that we're treating each other wrong, to stop nuclear use of nuclear material in really any capacity, chopping down the forests, our warlike ways, all of this. And what Dolly's also saying, that at some point the sky will fill with craft. This is something a huge number of contactees have told me about. So yeah, I think we need to do our own investigation, stop looking to our government for answers. That's a big one. Stop looking to TV for answers and just really start doing basic critical thinking and verifying what you can, and certainly protecting yourself to the extent that you can gather enough food and water to survive.
Okay, yeah, because I mean that's pretty much the same outlook that I have as far as not looking to the government for the answer, because they will never give you the answer. And just wasting your time. It's almost like a daddy child syndrome where you're looking to them to give you the answer or the guidance, and they just will never do that. It's not to their benefit to do it. So I agree with a lot of the things you're saying here, and to the fact that the only way that we're going to get through this or figure this out is by banding together as humanity, and with the data that you that people like yourself have uncovered, and other experiencers, other grassroots investigators like our Tim Senor, who goes out there, and Terry Hall, who goes out there and gathers data that's going to be transparent with the people. So I totally understand that aspect of it. I just it just when it gets to the dark side of it, I guess. I mean, because there is obviously ill intentions when it comes to suppressing a people like that, or the 99% of us, the ulterior motives that they must have.
You gotta look back at history.
agenda.
I want you to think about this. I don't want you to be so upset about the fact that it's ill intentions or evil. I want you to see how humans have behaved in history.
Right.
Okay, go back to the Romans. Look at them. Go back before that. Every single civilization has had issues with this, with control, with owning, mastery, all of that. Humanity, the only way for you to drop those habits is to wake up and to hear outside your own self. You have the equipment that's been damaged by the people around here, by the way, and you need to clean up your body, clean up your mind. You need to stop drinking bad water, stop eating bad food. Don't eat all the Stuff in the grocery stores, there's stuff in there that'll hurt you bad and mess it up. Fluoride is the worst thing you can put in your mouth. It gums up your pineal gland. You need that. You need to be able to hear the truth. That's one of your number one tools for that. Your physical mind is important in that your consciousness, who you really are anyway, can't hear, your physical mind can't hear who you really are talking to you. You know, wake up to that, meditate,
Well,
to do all that. Then you realize that you're in a third dimension that's hard. This is one of the hardest dimensions to live in. This is like ground zero for learning the hard lessons. That's why we're here. So you're born and you're going to die, and there's a lot of pain in between. What you have to remember is that you yourself, you can't depend on anybody else but yourself. You have to search yourself, learn for yourself, open your mind, know all that is knowable. I know it seems daunting, but it's really true. The more you self-actualize and realize what's what and who's who and why is why, you will become firmly able to navigate what's going on consciously, calmly, cognitively, spiritually, all of that. But you have to remember that it's not the group mentality that's going to save you. It's not everybody here. It's not even ET. We have to save ourselves, heal ourselves first. Then when we do that, then we can come together and say, all right, we're on board. And it's not fight them, it's walk away from them. Let it go. Let it go. Buddha was very correct about that. If you've got this many problems, put them in your hand and turn it over and let them go. Bye-bye. See you. Woo-woo. It works. You know, and then remember what love really is. That's ET's number one message to everybody. Love is the answer, period. We'll mature if we do that. We will become emotionally, spiritually responsible entities who are learning, and we won't put up with the guys that are causing the problems. The only reason they have power is because we give it to them, and you have to face that fact every day. That they got it because we handed it over by our inaction, our being treated and playing with toys we should put down and go do something else. We've allowed that to happen. That's the serious.
Living in fear is not going to help anything. We're here to learn something. This is the way I look at it. This is an opportunity. We all came here knowing that we're going to be going through various trials. This is why we come here, and just knowing that we are eternal beings, I think helps a lot. And this is something that is part of the ET message, which is elevating your psychic ability to the point where you can do telepathy, you can do astral projection, you can do clairvoyance and remote viewing and all of this stuff that lets you know that you truly do have power, and that you are immortal, and that you can go through anything. And this is exactly another reason behind the cover-up. This is the last thing the folks behind the cover-up want people to do, is get their personal power and realize who they are and what they can do.
Exactly.
Well, oddly enough, Rob and I were discussing pretty much the same subject matter yesterday, but we related it to a movie that came out. When was it? It was in the 80s, right, Rob? The Warriors?
Oh, wow.
70s, late 70s.
Do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
Imagine instead of it being all those particular people from different gentlemen's and ladies groups, imagine that being the UFO community. Who would be
Right.
with the NASA summit that was here recently? They even came out and said, we have basically a UFO czar, but we're not going to tell you who it is for fear of repercussions.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right.
And here we are. They keep feeding us things like these Border Patrol videos that look like Atari graphics. You can go to the store and buy one of these that blows those cameras completely out of the water, available to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Full color night vision that has a nice, crisp, clear. No, I mean the things that they're putting forward to us. You sit there and you go like this at your screen and you go, is that a bird or is that a helicopter
No,
or is that
they
a
want
hang
you to be able
glider?
to see laser light. That's the point. I want to make a point here. Okay, 70
which you
holographic
can pick up with
are
the
done
psionics,
with
by the way.
lasers. Okay, it's laser technology. So if you've got not laser night vision, you're looking at lasers and it picks them up perfectly. They can recreate a laser image of a UFO coming at you with lasers, and it will look at it. It'll look real to you, and it'll blow your mind. You'll go, "Oh my God, that's real!" And then they can do things like hit you with lasers and burn your house down and all kinds of stuff. They have percussion bombs that you won't see coming that will annihilate you. There's all kinds of ways to get you, okay? And they've perfected it. Never doubt it for a minute. Never doubt it I mean, have you ever been in the military? Do you know what it's like to sit in a battle lab and watch what they can do? A battle lab, because remotely they can do anything remotely, okay? Think about that. They have satellites, they have drones, they have all kinds of technology that would blow your mind. And we're at that point, and they're going to mess with you until they get you, period. Just walk away from it. Just tell them no more, stop paying them money, whatever it takes. We need to actually, honestly, the clock is ticking, okay? My advice to everybody is before the CMEs hit, the governments are going to come after us. They're already in the process of doing that. They're going to starve you out. They're going to thirst you out. They're going to burn you out. They're going to do all kinds of stuff. Prepare for that. Just, think about it. When you go to the store, buy some extra stuff. I know the prices are really high now. It doesn't matter. Find a way to take care of yourself. Everybody has a decision to make. You either want to fight and survive this long enough for ET to come and pick you up, or you just want an exit strategy. When I was growing up, my dad
Dolly,
and go ahead.
Dolly, the people that know me, know where I live, know that I don't go to the grocery store for very much of anything because we take care of it right here for ourselves.
Right.
But the only thing we go to the grocery store is for things that you can't make at home, like razors, deodorant, that type of thing. But as far as groceries go, they all come right here out of the land. And I don't get my nitrogen from overseas.
You get it from your chickens, right? There you go. Hey, it works. Have you ever, in Florida, do you know it's against the law to grow gardens in your backyard?
Yes.
Do you know it's in Georgia too now, and it's in a lot of the states? You just can't grow gardens anymore. Why? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with them? During the Second World War, people were growing their own food in their own yards. They had to, or they would have starved to death.
Or they would have starved
to death. Now they have laws
that
stop you from doing that. Just pay attention to what's going on around you. Start working on it. Learn how to save seeds, grow things. Put little pots on your porch, whatever it takes.
Something
Seriously.
else to pay attention to. I had a couple of people asking in the chat. That is a psionics camera. That little tiny thing, this little itty bitty deal, is full color night vision and almost zero and nearly zero light. If they can put this in our hands,
what have they got already? You're making a really good point. You want to know what it is? Every time they had a congressional meeting, and they're coming out with things that got people whistleblowing, which makes me laugh. I want you to understand something. ATIP. Do you know how much they've known about ET all these years already? Do you know what kind of cameras they've been working with? Do you know what kind of technology they're already working with? They absolutely 100% have known everything. They know what ETs are. They know practically where they come from. They know what kind of craft they have. Hell, they got guys drawing, schematics of them and stuff like that. They know, and yet they'll sit there and they'll tell you, well, we need to check into this. That's the laughable.
NASA itself, in the summary from the summit that they just had, the one complaint they said was our sensors aren't up to date and we have no baselines.
That's not true. That's a big lie.
On the other side of their mouth, in the same paragraph, they said we are uniquely qualified to study this phenomenon.
Right? Yeah, because they don't want anybody else to usurp their authority. That's why.
I had to laugh and said, we don't have enough data to determine what this is. Like, really? Okay. Look into the landing trace cases. Look into the 80 years of evidence that people have been collecting. Pick up a UFO book, for Pete's sake.
Right.
The-
Buzz Aldrin said in the one interview that he did, we weren't dumb enough to tell Houston that we were being followed, but we were being followed.
Of course they were, and yes, they were telling Houston. They had back language they were using. They had terminology that they outright used because they knew they were there. When they went,
Yes, Santa Claus.
Yeah, that's right. I know. I watched all that myself. I saw it. Okay.
I was one of those kids that was beaming in front of the TV watching them. They were my heroes. And, well, to a certain extent, still are to this day.
Well, yeah, these guys, unbeknownst, how do I put this? Buzz Aldrin was a friend of my family. Okay, my brother was very good friends with them, and they had long chats. And my brother's now passed from COVID, by the way. He said point blank, if we knew what was on their minds, we might have done this a little bit differently. We might have gone ahead and said something and put words out there. But he said what was happening to us is that we had families, and we were worried what would happen to them had we disclosed or done anything to go against what they wanted. It's like the mafia. They were under total control for this. And they did it because they wanted to do it. They did it because they wanted to know the answers, and they got them, but at a price that is huge, huge to us and to them as well. I mean, think about what they have on them now, knowing what they know. It's crazy, you know?
Yeah, we're gonna be wrapping this up too for commercial break here coming in a few minutes, but and I kind of want to get into more of the what you guys are doing over at the Lightgate, because I've watched a lot of your episodes and you guys do give a lot of great information over there. And you know, Preston being the historian pretty much on this subject covers so many different situations and cases you know, regarding face-to-face encounters, abductions and things of that nature. So I kind of wanted to get into, because I know Preston has a lot of definitely good, great stories to tell. Maybe
Yes.
hear about a few of those, or even something from the new book potentially. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Preston?
Hey, I love it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll do that. Do you have anything, Terry, before we go ahead and jump into this commercial break?
No, it's just refreshing. This is everything that I dreamed it would be this evening.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's been pretty heavy. Hour one has been heavy, so hour two, I don't know what we're gonna be getting into, but we'll go ahead and pause for the break, and we will be right back with Preston Dennett, Dolly Safran, Mr. Terry Hall, the goat up there, and then myself, Mr. Rob G. Give us just a few minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. After hour number 2 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And filling in for Nicole Coley Weber, we have Mr. Terry Hall. And we continue with our guests, Preston Dennett and Dolly Safran. But before we do that, so all the space travelers out there, consider taking the next step and join the club. That's right. You can join the Spaced Out Radio Travelers Club for as little as $5 by joining the Patreon. Get some official Spaced Out swag. Get swagged out at spacedoutradio.com. So, getting back into hour number 2 here. Preston, I did want to get, because like I said, you're a wealth of knowledge. I mean, if someone were to just come across what do you have, over 20, 30 books that you've written? There's going to be, I don't know what they couldn't find out, from reading your book. So if you were able to jump into some of the most interesting things that you've covered, I'm sure the audience would be interested in that. One of the things that I saw that kind of where I was like, whoa, that would be interesting to hear, would be you had 14, no, I wrote it down, 14 true cases with witnesses seeing beings through a window. Are you able to elaborate on that, on some of those cases potentially?
Yeah, this is one of the things I love doing, is finding weird patterns and commonalities to UFO encounters, because there's a lot of them. And what's really interesting is these are people who don't know about each other, a lot of people who have never even looked into this subject or even skeptical. And that was just a pattern I kept seeing, was because there's many different types of encounters people have. You can have a simple sighting of a glowing object quite high up in the sky, an anomalous light, or even a metallic craft that's somewhat lower, or a landing, or face-to-face encounter with a humanoid, or being taken on board. But this was a category of encounters that I thought, let's take a look at this. Because there's a lot of cases where people see a UFO and it's not necessarily landed, it's hovering right overhead and the side turns transparent, or perhaps there are portholes, and looking down at them, they can see figures, many different types of ETs, human-looking, grays, I mean, you name it, silhouettes in some cases, looking down at them. There was one case from England, which was pretty well known in terms of locally. Jessie Rostenberg was the witness, who was in her home when she heard her kids screaming. She goes running outside into her yard. Her 2 little kids are flat on the ground, absolutely out of their minds. She looks up. There's a very large classic saucer. It's tilted down so you can see inside of it. And standing right in front of the window are 2, what we would call Nordic ETs, human-looking beings with very long blonde hair, blue eyes, pale complexions, very, how would I put it? Well built, I guess, strong. Blue jumpsuits, handsome. And that is a good example of this kind of case. And that one actually went a lot farther than that, because they came back, these ETs, on a number of occasions, so that the husband saw it, the kids saw them again. I mean, it's an amazing case. And this sort of event is occurring all over the world. I've got case after case after case of this. And I thought, this would be an interesting study.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So I can't recall the case. Oh gosh, it was in another Turkey. The Turkey incident where they saw the light. I guess it was initially a light they saw over the water, and then after dark, it turned into something like it. I guess it morphed into a ship where you could see through the window. Is that another one of those cases?
And they had a really good zoom. It was a VHS camera that the guy was using.
Yeah.
Back 3 years in a row, several months each year, like May, June, July. One was August one year. Yeah. And he had a VHS camera, one heck of a zoom on it. And once they realized that he was videotaping this and he put the word out, they had debunkers coming up there. Real Preston knows who was at it, trying to debunk this case. And yeah, they could see inside. You're right.
And so that was definitely that was authentic then. That was an authentic
Yes,
sighting.
it was authentic.
Okay.
They could not debunk it. Even the Turkish government ultimately concluded that this is real. It's some of the best footage we have out there. Kambarga's Turkey footage. And if you look it up, you can see the little figures moving around inside the ETs. I don't know of any other case really where people have photographed a UFO that I can say this is verified, this is investigated, this is not a hoax, where you can see through the window the ET, well, there's two of them moving around even. So yeah, it's excellent footage. It's some of my favorite footage out there for sure.
Yeah.
And you are you still an active MUFON investigator? Do you still investigate cases on behalf of MUFON, or?
I don't. I'm not actively investigating for MUFON. I still support the organization. I did take their test to be a field investigator and did a bunch of cases early on. It's a hard test, by the way. It was a take-home test. I thought, well, this is going to be easy. It's a take-home test. It was not easy. I had a lot of tests, a lot of questions on photography, which I really had to research because I didn't know enough. On meteorology, well, I happened to be taking that in college, so I did pretty good. So I still totally support MUFON. I speak for their local groups all the time and the main MUFON. But ultimately, I thought I could be more effective working independently.
So let me ask: are some of the have you written about any of the things that you witnessed or experienced while with MUFON, or how do you gain a lot of that knowledge that you end up putting in these books?
Oh, I interview people personally.
Okay.
Yeah, with MUFON, I would write up the case and send it off to them, and it kind of ends up there in their database and doesn't go much further. And that was my main frustration because I thought, this is good that it's being recorded for posterity, but this really needs to get out there. So I really sort of shifted gears because people need to know what's going on. This hit me like a ton of bricks when I found out UFOs were real. This was not taught in schools. And I just thought, this is something that I really need to take to the next level. And that's when I think what really started for me was finding out that the fear-based narrative that I was being fed was not true. I was collecting all these cases of people who had been healed. And this was not getting any attention, really, in the UFO community even. And that was the subject of my first book, UFO Healings. I've since put it out. That first book, in 1996, had 100 cases. I've now documented over 300. So this is why, this is when I started to realize this needs to come out in a book. Well, my sister-in-law told me, actually, she's like, you've got enough cases for a book here. Because I was going to write an article, but I found 30 cases right off the bat. After interviewing a few people who'd had this experience, I traced many others in the literature. So yeah, this is a subject that the public really has no idea how common this is.
With Rob bringing up Turkey and you bringing up those type cases, did either you or Dolly Preston ever do any work with Dr. Lear, with Roger Lear?
I did, yeah. To a limited extent. We were cohorts, colleagues, I should say. We spoke at a few conventions. I did never stand in on any of his surgeries, though I did interview Mike Evans and another lady who worked with him directly, and another lady who had her implant removed. I investigated her case in depth. So to a certain extent, yeah, he was a good guy. He was doing some cutting edge work. No pun intended, but yeah, he was removing implants.
Dolly, I've got a question for you and Preston both.
Okay.
During one of our research projects that we were on, I had a very unusual thing happen to me, and I believe I've even told this to Rob. When I was a young man, my father was in the military. We always had ammunition laying around. Well, being kids, to keep the long story short, I ended up with part of a bullet that rested in my chest. It started out up here, just rested in the same spot in my chest for years and years and years and years. Nothing nefarious. It was just an accident from kids being kids. On this particular trip, unbeknownst to me, I had that slug go from the right side, or excuse me, the left side of my chest to the right side of my chest.
Mhm.
About 7 inches, maybe 8 inches. No edema, no swelling, no bruising. Honestly, didn't even know it happened. And it was during what has become what's become to be known as a hitchhiker event.
Hmm.
Where do you think that falls into what's going on now? Because at the time, I didn't realize that it happened, nor why it would have happened.
Was
As it
it
turned
a
out,
copper casing?
Full Metal Jacket.
Full metal jacket. You must have come in contact with something with a lot of magnetism in it because it would have driven it across your body like that. That
Well,
that would be one way to move that bullet across your chest. And if you were being contacted and you were outside or them doing anything with you, they could have actually moved it to a safer spot in your body. I don't know that they
that's the
removed it. Yeah.
that's the thing, because I've been through multiple MRIs with it, never affected during
Yeah.
an MRI. So it had to be something on a
Mhm.
magnitude of even more than that.
Yeah.
However, 3 weeks later, I broke a rib leaning over a fence petting one of my horses.
Okay.
Same side, same side. If that would have still been resting where it was, I would have had to had they would have had to open my chest up to get it out.
Yeah. It would have. It could have
Because it was
your lung.
because it was
Yeah.
moved.
Pneumothorax. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was moved, it was avoided, and
Yeah.
that has messed with me since that day.
He likes to do things to people just to make you think about them. Okay. That doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, they probably knew that this was going to happen to you. They go outside of our timeline, okay, and they can see past, present, and future. And if they knew this was coming for you, they may have moved it into a safer place, knowing that was coming, and it was to make you think. See what I'm saying? Your contactee. You just gave me a heads up. Your contactee.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
For many years, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact. 30 years into you in a basin, you're gonna have something happen to you.
Anyway.
I know about the Wichita Basin.
I spent 30 years there prior to moving to Oregon. I went from Skinwalker, the
Wow.
middle of Skinwalker, everything. Now I live right in the middle of the Pacific Northwest, so I'm in Bigfoot's backyard now.
Yeah, well, I would underline what Dolly says. ETs are often aware of future events and will take action. I've got a number of cases where people were prevented from having very severe car accidents that they certainly weren't aware of coming, and this sort of thing. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It's definitely a possibility, and given that you've had UFO experiences.
Well,
yeah.
Since I've been running with the people that I'm running with now, we do. I'm sure that you guys are aware of some of the other projects that we do, but I've noticed that the new people, as we were discussing earlier, are being brought in for a skill set that they possess or something that they can bring to the table that's going to help the subject, not hurt it, but help it. Matter of fact, a few of the people that I'm working with now, prior to say 5 years ago, never thought about a UFO, and now that's all they do from the time they wake up till the time they go to bed. They've got production houses and post production and editing and this and that, and instead of doing the things that they used to, it's all this now.
We had Yvonne
So-
Smith on last week on the Light Gate, and she said exactly that. She didn't even think about it until she started walking into it, and then it became her life, literally.
Yeah, well, this is part of the ET plan. That, since our governments have refused to become truthful or transparent or forthcoming, they've conducted what amounts to a grassroots publicity campaign. And the people are working hard to get this information out. And you can see absolute demonstrations of this in the schoolyard encounters like Rua, Zimbabwe, Westall High School, Crestview Elementary, Broadhaven, Hillsdale College. Those are the famous ones. But I ended up doing a book on just schoolyard cases because there's over 100. And you can times that easily by another 100 because most people don't talk. And that's a good example of this publicity campaign that they're doing. Because real quick, half those cases that I found were elementary schools. And that's a really effective method to introduce this into our culture and make sure moving forward that this will be a subject that gets the attention it deserves.
What do you think about that, Rob? With the amount of people that you talk to, do you notice a difference between, say, experiencers or new people that are being brought into here? Do you notice that it's for a reason, or is it just a random kind of thing?
That's the thing. I mean, when I listen to you talk about that or say that, I was thinking about people around me, if that has been the case. And truthfully, in the circle that I'm in, a lot of people, only because I've said something have people been brought aware of the issue. But I'm just thinking of how many have actually attached themselves to the knowledge that they're here and kind of and have stepped over that line to come in. And I really thought about it like, wow, there really hasn't been many. And truthfully, I don't know why that is, but you were talking about that. So many people come in, some of the new people, and they dive right into this thing. But I'm thinking around me, and only besides my significant other, there's other people that I've talked to in the sphere, and a lot of them still haven't come aboard. And it's I don't know what to think about that. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do, because I'm one of the ones, obviously, that campaigns for this and speaks passionately about it. But for whatever reason, those people it doesn't click for them to come on and step over. So that I mean, and I had not thought about that until you just made that statement there. So to me, that's kind of troubling in a way. But I really don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of resistance for people to investigate this subject because they don't know it's real. It's opening a can of worms. This subject is something that affects you profoundly on multiple levels: mentally, spiritually, emotionally, psychically, physically even. And it's what I would call a core belief, which changes your worldview completely, even more so than religion and politics. So I understand that there's some resistance for people to even look at this. I interviewed a lady who saw a UFO, and she absolutely kept saying, I don't believe in UFOs. I don't believe in, throughout the whole interview, and saw a saucer-shaped craft, followed her home. They had missing time. Poor lady was distraught throughout the whole interview.
With the family that I was discussing earlier, that there was 9 members of the same family, all on the beach that day. Every one of them saw exactly the same thing, but you can go from the gamut to I didn't see anything, to where it's a government, to where it's unknown, to where it's ET. Just with 9 people, it can vary that much in 9 people.
Sure can. I think it largely depends on psychic development. This happened in my own family. My brother developed a brain infection when he was really young, and it almost killed him. And it messed with his psychic ability, kind of cut him off. I wasn't able to read him anymore. couldn't hear me psychically, nothing. And he became obsessed with owning knowledge after that. He had to know everything because it was his only way to understand anything. It was Missouri, prove it to me, show me, I want to know. And he still pursued everything he wanted to pursue, but he became a different sort of a learner that way because he was handicapped from it. And there were several times in our lives where they were coming down for me and he was standing there and he didn't, nothing. No see it, no talk about it, no nothing. He was a contactee as well. I mean, they were trying to work with him and help him, but he had the damage to his pineal gland that was severe. And he just before he passed away, he said, I believe you. I know it's true, but I never saw or heard anything. I don't have any contact with that at all. And he just didn't pursue it. He just wanted all the other knowledge other than that. And I have other family members that are like that as well. And it's just your psychic development. I really believe that. It's hard to process any other way.
What are the suggestions that you two would make to with everything that we consume now? You've got the PVEs in plastic and estrogen that they use to line cans with, and everybody's allergic to gluten when
Yeah.
40 years ago our favorite thing in the world was Wonder Bread. That's what we survived on, right? So in today's age, what would your suggestion be to people to start to tap into that, to start to clean up and get rid of the waste and start to clean up the pineal gland and whatever else it takes for us to open that window? What would your suggestions be?
Number one, Preston had this revelation 3 weeks ago. You can talk about it, Preston. He put it up on his Facebook. What did we just find out about what's in the food on the market?
Yeah, just going through the food in the cupboard. A bunch of it was GMO'd, genetically modified.
And we're not talking, it's mRNA modified. mRNA, okay? Go ahead.
Yeah, and there's a lot of it. And I did my research, and it is in everyone's cupboard, probably right now. Take a look. You won't find it on the list of ingredients. It's below the list of ingredients. And this might vary from state to state, whether they have to even put it there. So you have to be really careful. Our food is not natural anymore. So that is a good place to start. Eat whole foods as much as possible. Grow your own food. Try to stay away from anything that's genetically modified. I mean, there's a bunch of things you can do in terms of purifying your water. If you're in a place where you can't get, spring water, you can get water purifiers. Meditation is a big deal. A lot of people don't have time. They're working, they're always just struggling to survive. But you can certainly devote 5 or 10 minutes a night before bed or in the morning to just meditate. This is a big deal. This will wake you up psychically. There's all kinds of things we can do. Deep breathing is another one. Nurturing yourself. Don't watch horror movies. Walk out in your yard and look at a tree. Play with your pet. Listen to music. Move away from fear. But exercise. That's important. There's a bunch of things we need to do to start healing ourselves.
Right. Look in your medicine cabinet. If you're taking, a lot of NSAIDs and stuff like that, you need to really seriously read the bottle and see what it's doing to you to use them, because they mess with your internal organs. Your kidneys are the number one target of NSAIDs. Check it out. They push everybody away from aspirin. Aspirin's a naturally occurring substance, acetylsalicylic acid. It grows in the bark of willow trees. It is nature provided it for us, and it doesn't harm your internal organs to use it, especially your kidneys, your lungs, all of it. Everything you put in your mouth, it should be suspect to you. If it's not natural, holistic, or whole food oriented, don't put it in your mouth. Leach it out of your body. Get rid of it and stop using fluoride, because fluoride calcifies your pineal gland. It take a little time for it to clear away, but the longer you go without it, the better. And I mean, watch out. The water you drink over the counter is full of fluoride. It's fluoridated. It's got chlorine in it. Don't use artificial sweeteners. If it's artificial, don't touch it. And sugar is the worst thing you can put in your body. It's like battery acid. It can harm you. It can harm your pineal gland as well. Don't use it. These things, you know.
Yeah, that's all great advice too. I mean, you would think it. I mean, truthfully, hearing you say it, you're like, yeah, yeah, but you would think that would be common sense, right? But we're
Yeah,
so programmed to do what we're doing in our daily lives
convenience.
that it's
Yeah.
It's
insane
just convenient. That's right.
and that's the best.
Yeah,
You gave the best advice that you could give there for sure.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Go to the farmer's market. Buy food from the farmer. It's a great way to eat. Um, we've become a society of convenience. That's why all the plastic. The only three things you should be cooking in or using is glass, stainless steel, or iron. Those are the only three surfaces that you should be cooking or drinking your food out of. Period. You know, most of the other stuff has PFAs. Oh God, it's bad. It's bad. You know, mother's milk is better than putting it in the baby bottle. Don't do that. We have to think about what we're doing to ourselves. Water that's been processed and it's in the drinking water, you shouldn't drink that. Remember also that it's hitting your body, and your body, your skin absorbs whatever's in the water. It's doesn't barrier all that out. So if you're washing yourself in that stuff too, you're in trouble. Put a whole house filter on your water system if you can. If you can't, I would think about potting water, do whatever you needed to do to, distill it or filtrate it out. Water holds energy. We're mostly water. It's pocketed in our bodies. It's, held in place, but it still replenishes itself constantly. So water's the most important thing you can do to detoxify yourself. But it has to be clean water. It has to be right water, you know?
I love that. I do, and I also love Preston's advice of meditation, and then just the different ways that you could find meditation through simply sitting and listening to music. Like, I'm a musician myself, and so when I hear him say that, then I understand that I've actually been doing this for a long time. I sit down for maybe an hour and just zone out to some jazz or other type of music, and essentially I'm doing things that potentially could unlock my mind. And I think that's what a lot of people out there need, is a way to find a way to unlock their mind. So that's great advice on that as well. Yeah, definitely. What do you think about that, Terry?
Preston touched on one, breathing. As an experiencer, someone who, and if you know, you know, I've had discussions with the Blue Lady. I've talked with the Machine Elves. Um, I've gone to Mexico and had extended ayahuasca experiences,
Mm,
DMT experiences as well. But there is a platform that you can reach that is nearly identical to a DMT experience by breathing. My physician told me one time, he said, just stop and do this right now, Rob. Take a breath. Just take a breath. You've just
mm-hmm.
overrode every autonomic system in your body and just switched it on with your brain. Just switched everything off with your brain just to override everything to take that one single breath.
Absolutely.
The keys, the things we don't know. I mean, and I get it takes talking to people like yourself to kind of explain that. I mean, because like I said, we're so busy living in the bubble and on the day-to-day struggle, hustle, to where we don't take time to take these sort of things in. So I think that's actually some great information for the audience. And just so the audience knows, we will be taking questions. I'll be looking through the chat. Just put them all in caps, and then we'll make sure to pose those to Preston and Dolly. So yeah, but with that being said, yeah, I mean, where do you go from there? I mean, really, like, I think the main thing is to, I would love to take that approach that you just mentioned there. And I think I will. I think I'll, implement that into what I do in my life. I'm a person that as you were stating earlier, is a person that has a positive outlook on humanity and just where we go, on this path. So anything that helps that, I think, is a great tool to have. And so I just want to thank you for bringing that information today.
Yeah, if I could give anyone any advice, it would be to learn astral projection, because this is a great pathway to psychic development. It will absolutely change your life. It will open up all your psychic centers in terms of clairvoyance and healing and past life recall, levitation. I mean, you name it. You can actually heal your physical body of physical illnesses through the practice of astral projection. I know of 20 or 30 cases that I found in the literature, and I've talked to people who've done it. And you can see this with people who go through past life recall. This heals them of illness. People who have a near-death experience are come away from their near-death experience completely healed of chronic cancer or a variety of illnesses. This is all connected to astral projection, which is so easy to do. We're already doing it every night. It's just a matter of becoming aware of it. There's a lot of literature out there. I love the whole OBE phenomena, and I would just recommend people to take a look at it and give it a try.
Oh, Preston, with OBE and astral projection, what's frightened me is kind of the same thing as let's say you go out and you're intentionally going into woods to look for Bigfoot. Intentionally going into woods for me to look for something that's between 8 and 10 feet tall, that runs between 450 and 1,000 pounds. And when it decided if it wanted to take off after me, there would be absolutely nothing I could do about it. With astral projection, what concerns me anyway, is how do you keep yourself grounded during an event? How do you find your way back? Is it a natural thing, or is this something that you have to practice?
It's natural. There's something called the silver cord that will pull you back. If you have the slightest fear, any overriding emotion, if you so much as think about your body, it will pull you right back. The hard part is getting out. This is as safe as sleeping. I scoured the literature looking for the so-called dangers of astral projection, of possession, or going too far out, or getting lost, or anything like this. I couldn't find it. It's absolutely safe, and it's actually the opposite. Opposite of dangerous. It's beneficial in so many different ways. And I mean, I can't recommend it enough. You will absolutely know why you came to Earth, who you are. You will learn so much about yourself. You can visit deceased loved ones. You'll be able to walk through walls and fly and do all these amazing things. I mean, it's
the first time I did ayahuasca, I completely lost all sense of ego. I knew exactly where my place was in the universe. Absolutely, no questions asked.
Yeah, ayahuasca is a tool. I mean, there's a number of tools you can use. Robert Monroe has the whole Gateway program. But I did it just through old-fashioned meditation. And I think that provides a good foundation for doing it in a repeated way.
That is so reassuring to have someone that has the experience that you do. That's so reassuring. Thank you, Preston. Thank you.
Hey, my pleasure. I love that subject as much as UFOs because it's personal. It's something you can do. And you have an opportunity every single night when you go to bed. Just get that dream journal and start remembering your dreams, becoming lucid in the dream state.
And see how free you are with your information. What really gets to me in our particular chosen things that we do with our free time, the UFO community, is where so many people try to turn that type of knowledge into a cottage industry. Without mentioning names, I can say ET5. If you have the actual ability to do that, why on earth would you try to make an industry out of it rather than just share it to be
Exactly.
sharing.
It's
Yeah.
supposed to be. If you're really doing it, that's all you want to do anyway. It's like the more is the merrier, you know? Everybody goes out looking for everybody else once you attain that. So, yeah.
Yeah, Dolly and I have had out of body adventures together. I once went to her house. She saw me. She was physical, you know, live walking around.
Crazy.
I've done this with my family. You're like a ghost. It's disconcerting walking around someone and they can't see you. But I went to Dolly's house. You know, I was in California. She's in Florida. And you can do that. I mean, you can basically teleport to any location you want. She turns around. She looks right at me. I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that all comes with being able to unlock your mind.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that you mentioned you said gateway, right? Is
Yeah,
what
Yeah,
you
the Gateway
mentioned.
program with Robert Monroe.
Robert.
Okay. Yeah, because I've always believed that everyone has the ability to unlock their mind. Some can do it naturally, some can do it with meditation.
You actually do it every night. When you're asleep, everybody OBEs. Everybody. That's your dreams.
Yeah,
You're,
and
you're
I
remembering
feel
being
that.
OBE, you know?
I feel
Um,
that because I've had crazy dreams where, and this was the thing. I had a dream, well, a series of dreams that happened maybe 10 years ago. I would go to a specific place, never seen this place before, very detailed, and then I would have that dream probably 2, 3 weeks every single day. And then 10 years passes, and then I recently had the same dream here recently where I went back to the same place
Oh, I
from
love it
10
when that
years
happens.
ago, and
yeah.
it was exactly as I remembered it, and it was so detailed as if I was there. So I'm totally convinced that you astrally, I guess, go to these
And you go for a
locations.
walkabout. Yeah, that's right. You go out, walk about. Look, if you can figure out where that place is on the planet, try to find it and go look at it and see, make the comparison, you know?
And that's the thing. I've wondered if, because it didn't appear, and I guess I could do that, but I took a step further and thought maybe I was like, oh, is this potentially a place in another dimension, or is this a
I was going to
place on
mention
some
that.
other world somewhere?
You could be
So
on the other side, you know, completely.
Yeah, yeah, you could be out of it. Yeah.
Dimensions. You can go to other planets. I've never been able to do that. I haven't really tried, actually. I did go to the moon once because Robert Monroe said he did it and he trained people to do it. I'm like, well, if they can do it, you know, that's always been my motto. You can do it, so can I.
Monroe did it once and said there was something that was looking back at him, though, and that's why he ran back from it. What wasn't that the one, Preston?
Well, I know he's encountered other beings. At some point, you will. If you get good at this, you might even encounter some hostile entities, earthbound souls and stuff, or
Wayne
even
in our
non-human entities.
Wayne in our chat is just going by, is just asking the question that kind of I was wondering myself. When let's say you're like me, Preston, and you know that it can be done, so you have the belief in your heart that things like this are possible and true. How long from the beginning of your journey to start this? About how long did it take you to actually start to be able to astral project?
Less than 2 months. Took me about a month and a half to when I found out about it, did the exercises, which was every night, meditating for about an hour. Not terribly long. But yeah, it took me a month and a half to have my first OBE. And when I did, I doubled down on meditation because I wanted to do it again. And I had one the next weekend and then pretty much every weekend because I could sleep late. You know, I work.
Well, was your first out of body experience, was it you had separated and you realized it and didn't, and that's when you thought about your body and you sprung back, or did you take a journey on that first experience, or was it just a mild exploration and then return?
Mild exploration. The first month and a half was a huge increase in dream recall, false awakenings, pre-lucid dreams. And then in a month and a half in, I went to bed in the middle of the day to lay down. I was a little bit depressed. It was a hard time. And I felt what they call a vibratory state, where your whole body is basically paralyzed and buzzing with energy. And I popped right out, flew across the room, across the hallway and into the bathroom, grabbed the counter, looked in the mirror. I couldn't see anything in the mirror, so I knew I was out of body. And I was so excited, it got pulled right back in. Plop. So, yeah, that was my first one. So had zero control. It took me a year to learn how to control it and extend it more than a minute, a full year.
Have you ever run across anything hostile?
Yes, certainly. Yeah. One time I popped out of my body and I like, let's go out to the front yard. And I went through the front door into the front yard, and there was 3 men, young men, walking towards me. And I instantly knew, because you can get a good reading on people when you're open like that, because all your psychic senses are just wide open. These were 3 earthbound souls, and they were murderers. They were not good people. And they saw me, locked gazes with me, and came right for me. And I'm like, nope, not doing this. Because they say, you project love, and I'm like, no, I'm not ready for that. I just went right back inside and into my body, because I did not want to deal with that. But yeah, that sort of thing has happened a few times, not a lot.
So you're basically during astral projecting, you are actually in a different dimension. You're still here in the 3rd dimension, but are you halfway between the 3rd and the 4th, or 3rd and the 5th, or is this Beethoven's symphony, or what is it?
Your consciousness you are an interdimensional being, and your consciousness exists in all dimensions at the same time. It's not that you're in a dimension in your consciousness, you're in source and you're projecting out here to your body. Okay. And when you leave your body, your consciousness is able to go anywhere and do anything at any time. So you're not so much changing dimensions, you're just going anywhere you want to go. And it's up to you to decide where that would be. And you think about it and boom, you're there, or you get there somehow. There's things to explore. There's things to do outside of this physical realm, this body in the 3rd dimension. But you are extra dimensional. You're already that way. It's your natural state of being. So,
well, Dolly, is that why we don't recall our dreams unless they're a message? Because it would be too tempting to just stay there.
No, your physical mind is not capable all the time of hearing everything your consciousness is saying to it or experiencing it. You experience more of it in dreams than you do during the day, but it's so like it's a dream state. It's the altered state that your physical mind is in, where your consciousness is in control of what's going on and you're thinking about. And it's reason number 1 to get your pineal gland opened up and working, because that's the connection between your consciousness and your physical mind. If you open that up, you're on your 24/7 broadcasting, simulcasting your consciousness and your physical mind become one entity at the same time. You should be in that state. Should be your normal. You should be able to access your physical mind from your consciousness. You came here to run this body, and now we're walking around with people who are cut off from it, and it gets a little crazy because of that.
Yeah, that's the trick on how to do it, really, is just remember.
Right.
So if you can remember what you're doing at night, you'll be having out-of-body experiences, because you're already conscious on the other side. You just don't remember.
Right. Your physical mind can't remember.
And
I have an awful time recalling with dream recall, but there's some of the people that, like that 9-member family, when they started having those recurring type dreams, I mean, they can recall the smallest detail of them.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I had. That's exactly what I had. Recurring dream, where you could, you're going down the street in this dream, and every building on each side of the street is exactly the same. And the question would be, if it was simply a dream, there's so many other things that your mind could create as far as scenery goes, and why would it be that exact same thing is the thing that always gets me. Is like, it could be. We could change the houses on the east side of the street. Your mind could do that, but it has to be something more to it. If you're going back to the exact same place.
Why don't you do yourself a favor? Why don't you write them down every time you have the dream? Because every time you write it down, it's going to be a little bit more detail or something you didn't pick up before. And then wait a month or two and then go back and reread it. Okay. And then ask yourself while you're reading it, what am I trying to tell myself? What's in this that I recognize as a direct communication from my consciousness to me, to my physical mind? And see if you can't figure it out that way. We work on repetition. We're habitual people and we learn by rote. Our physical mind has to be programmed. And if you're having it over and over and over again, it's real important for you to know what the heck that's all about. Your consciousness is going to great lengths to say it to you over and over and over and over again. Hey, listen to me. Write it down. Keep writing it down.
Yeah, when you go to bed at night, just ask yourself, I want to go there. Let's go there tonight.
Right.
Intention is a big part of having out-of-body experiences.
Right.
You just make a plan. Like, tonight I want to visit a deceased loved one. Tonight I want to go to that street. It works. If you just
and then ask the question. Ask the question. Okay, so consciousness, you got something to say to me. I'm open to you right now. We're going to go together and you're going to tell me what the heck. And it will. It will. And you'll hear it because you're ready to hear it. You're open to hear it.
What helped the person that I'm talking about, Rob, and this might help you too. Originally in their dreams, they were flying, but that was the ability they had in this dream. So I told him to start mapping the place out, start looking for landmarks. And he had problems with his day-to-day life until in this dream, he was actually able to get his feet back on the ground. Once he was able to touch down back on Earth in his dream, once he was able to actually take the ability and use it and know his surroundings and bring himself and get the connection back again, that's when his life, our real everyday third dimensional life started to make sense to him again. Prior to that,
tell you what he says. He's got a really good rule for this. Okay. And there's a saying that he says, there's a difference between reality and illusion. Okay. Preston, what is it that they're supposed to do?
Oh yeah. I actually got this advice from a spiritual entity on the other side, because sometimes when you're out of body, it's hard to tell whether this is what we would call a lucid dream, or is this an objective environment. So all you do is you shout out, all illusion end. And that will, if you can say this with enough willpower, and you are actually lucid dreaming, which is in a sense hallucinating, your environment will dissolve and you'll find yourself perhaps floating above your room, or it might actually become even more vivid and real. And at that point you realize, oh, this is an actual location, whether it's on Earth or on a higher dimension.
I was given the exact same word for word advice the second time I did ayahuasca.
Oh, wow.
Word for word.
Yeah.
Exactly. That kind of just bit my brain a little bit.
I want to make a point. It's important. This is a serious, important point, because a lot of people think that they can create anything with their minds. Yes, you can be deluded, you can be delusional, and you can see almost anything in your delusion. But reality is reality. And even on the other side, reality is reality. It is all there, and it can be searched out and seen by almost anybody, and you're all seeing the same thing, because that's reality. And so I want you to understand that you don't need to be creating stuff. You need to be looking for what's real, period. That teaches you. Delusion doesn't. Delusion keeps you in fear. It keeps you from knowing the truth and all kinds of things. That's why all illusion disappear is so important. Okay.
Oh, that's weird. I mean, did you know, or have you heard of any, I guess essentially when you're leaving yourself that way, when you're leaving your body in that fashion, have you ever heard of any cases, or would there be potentially a way that you get lost essentially, where you don't return, or where is there?
No.
Can you get that deep?
No.
Okay.
No,
you
no,
can
no.
go as far as you want, and you can read all the literature on this. No, the only real dangers is, I think, it's going to change your viewpoint about everything. You'll become really enamored with it and want to do it all the time. But no, there's no danger of going too far out or getting possessed or anything like that. Getting lost. No. You have a spirit guide with you. Even if you're not aware of it, you do. We have a lot of friends on the other side, family as well, all of us.
That's right.
So
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to touch on with you was because I've grown up with especially with people from law enforcement, and there was one particular story that the young man's mother was into all sorts of spiritual and the wicked and astral projection and things, and apparently while she was gone, something moved in, and her own son would look at me dead in the eye and promise me that is not my mom. That I don't know that, but and the things that this woman would do were frightening.
there are
Literally,
probably other things going on here, because you can open yourself up to possession through different
Right.
practices.
Right.
Astral projection is not really one of them, but there are definitely.
I often wondered about that because of her varied interests. That with my reservations about astral projection, that was part of it. Was, well, if you're moved out, how easy it for something else to move
No,
in.
you're not moved out. You're still connected to your body. That's what the silver and the
Mm.
energeticness of your body is still connected to your consciousness. Your consciousness is very well aware of what's going on with your body. That's why if somebody walks in a room and touches your body, boom, you're back, because you're immediately going to go back to your body. Anything can bring you back to your body easily. You cannot be indwelt by anything without your permission. Okay. And that's an important point here. Most people who astral project heavily meditate first, and set the intention that I'm going to do this, and they put themselves in protect mode, and their body is well aware of what's going on around it. Even their mind, their consciousness, their soul has gone out, and the two are still communicating with one another. That's really important. Possession, a demonic possession, is where the person is spiritually weak, or they've been tortured or abused, things like that, and they have really no character identity for themselves. They're emotionally weak and can't defend themselves against an entity that wants to come and do them harm, and they become possessed by it. It doesn't take over your body entirely. You're still there with it. It's just that it tries to run the show with you while it's there.
I went down to some of the lower realms where there were demonic entities. You can do this and confront them directly. And there's dangers in using perhaps Ouija boards or black magic or evil acts, or even like really bad alcoholism, and people are blacking out. This can open you up. This creates holes in your aura.
Right.
So there's definitely dangers to I studied demonic possession up, down, and sideways, because people are saying, ETs are demonic. I'm like, I don't think so. I looked into it. This is
every time I think we're closing a door, you just keep opening all these new ones. Now you got me wondering, with the astral projection being leading to the where you said that you ran across I guess detached persons from their meat suit. The three people that you were discussing. I hesitate to say soul because I don't want to cross the religious boundary. But is that what you're projecting? What
consciousness.
we consider?
Your consciousness is your soul.
So
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways of looking at it. According to Eastern religions, they've mapped it out to where you have your physical body, your etheric body, your aura, your astral body, which is the lower vibration of your saint. It's all one, really. So it's a bit of a misnomer. But astral body, then I think it goes up to mental body, causal body, Buddhic body, atmic body.
Lots of confusion. Yeah.
So
we're all light.
Bodies.
Your consciousness is pure light. Okay. You're light. In the third dimension, it's gravity heavy here. So you're indwelling a body that's made out of light, but it's very compact. And so you have a physicality about it. And you're indwelling it. Your consciousness is the light of who you are is indwelling this body. This body has an energetic light that is part of you, that was created for you to come here and indwell with it. Nobody else can take your body away from you. Nobody. You cannot be separated from it because it is your energy. The Indians call it prana. Okay. And when one of the things that the saints try to go for, those that have, sort of like left and taken their body with them, that's because they took the light, the energy that they come here to be in and explore life with them when they left, and they don't plan on coming back. Every time you're reincarnated, that energy is waiting for you here to create the body that you're going to be in while you're here. And it's genetically coded. That's what our genes are for, to do. And so you've got consciousness. We're all in source together, who you really are. You're projecting your consciousness out to be attracted to a physical light body that you join with to be in the third dimension. Anything outside the third dimension is all non-corporeal. The beings in the fourth all the way up to the 12th dimension have no bodies whatsoever. They're all light.
All right, and Dolly, I'm going to get you a hold right there. Pause for the cause, because we have to go ahead and take our last break of the night. We'll go ahead and continue your thought there. So we're going to get into the last break here as we get ready to wrap this up. And Dolly and Preston actually are jumping in to the third hour with us. So that's so awesome. Right here on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be right back. right, welcome back to Space Out Radio after hour number 3 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And filling in for Nicole Coley Weber, we have Mr. Terry Hall. And for the final hour, we're going to go ahead and get back with our guests here, Preston Dennett and Dolly Safran. And Dolly, you were mid-sentence, so I didn't want to stop you there.
Actually, I was pretty done. There's humankind has tried to describe things over and over and over again, and everybody gets real close to the actual truth. You know, they just describe it differently. Our languages are different, so but it's basic. We have we're all in source together. We come out here in the third dimension. We have a physical body that we're attracted to. It remakes itself for us every time we come. And then when we're done learning here, we take this energy with us that is our body. It goes with us. You can't get something from nothing. And our energy has to come out to create us. And DNA is the driving force. It's the basis of it in the physical realm.
One thing about astral projection, which I think is important to note, is that it's kind of a misnomer in that the fact is we're projecting, as Dolly says, from source, from our true home down into a physical body. We're looking at it kind of the wrong way. Our true body is the astral body or the spirit body, the soul, call it what you will. It's a much stronger body. It can do all kinds of things that the physical body can't do. However, when someone is able to connect their physical body to their astral body, this is when they start levitating, exhibiting superhuman strength, immunity to fire, invisibility, all the supernatural abilities that we ascribe to saints, including there are a bunch of saints, they really advanced spiritually, who would actually emit physical light from their bodies. The human body can emit physical light. And there's just a list of things we can do. We're much more powerful than I think we give ourselves credit for.
Well, you hear so many times, this like top-notch athletes, let's say that when you reach this flow state, that it just feels like everything's working in and together. This is just another type of that kind of flow state.
Yeah, even more so. I mean, I think that's just touching the beginning of it. It was not too long ago I saw on one of these TV shows, 2 sisters who came running out, and their father had rolled his tractor right over him. These are just 2 young girls. They didn't know what to do. They ran up to that tractor and they lifted the darn thing up. There's case after case after case of this, of people who are like, you know what, this has to be done. And they exhibit what we would call superhuman strength. And it's not. It's natural. It's not superhuman. It's human. None of these are supernatural abilities. They're natural. And this is the natural state of the astral body. So if you can connect to it, you start to open the bridge to being able to have all these abilities. Dolly has experienced levitation, physical levitation, and a lot of contactees have, because this is the contact experience is a huge boost. It opens it up. You're with ETs who can do all these abilities, who have telepathy, who can levitate, and they actually taught her a lot of how to do these things, as they do to all contactees.
Looks like Dolly needs to levitate her kitty cats.
Yeah, this is the time of night she gets all her lovey-doveys. And she's like, where the heck have you been? So she's going for it now.
Now, to add to that story, Preston, though, that you just told, I've seen this with my own eyes. So I was a kid, and our next door neighbor had an older Monte Carlo, and they had a baby that was about 2 years old that had walked behind the car, and his uncle was in the car and accidentally rolled backwards over the baby. So the tire was on the baby, and I watched this father come out there and literally lift the entire back end of this car off of the ground to save that baby. So that just goes further to the story you were telling, and it's amazing some of the things that we are just unaware that we're capable of doing. Now I did have a question though, as far as astral travel goes, and this is something I always thought about or wondered rather is when we talk about alien abductions, for instance, is this a physical thing or is this potentially being abducted astrally? If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Go Preston. No.
Yeah, yeah. It's physical. It's 100% physical, and I will say this for a number of reasons. I would mention the guy I interviewed, Tim from Louisiana, who was taken from his front yard when chores were supposed to be done, and his brother and his father were looking for him for an hour. They're like, "Where were you?" He thought he was sitting on the wagon. I would point to a guy in my latest book, Humanoids and High Strangeness, whose mom said, "Where were you last night? I went into your room and you were not there." He was on board a craft. It's physical. I've got case after case after case of people who are missing. Dolly was missing from her house for 2 hours. They found her 7 miles from the house at the local U.F.O convenience store. It's physical. People are returning physically healed. They have implants in their body. There are multiple witnesses in many of these cases, people seeing the UFOs in the area. They'll leave landing traces. It's not sleep paralysis. It is not astral projection. Not to say that someone can't personally astral project and meet ETs, because that does happen. But no, these experiences are physical as we would think of them. Yeah.
Well, there's one case that made me even feel that way, and I can't remember exactly the name of the case, but you may remember based off of what I tell you here. But there was this abduction case where there was a witness that was out on the bridge. I guess this was in New York. A witness was, I believe, on the bridge, Brooklyn Bridge,
Yeah.
and saw a lady being abducted and taken through the wall. Do you recall that one?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
Rob.
Lyndon Napolitano.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so in that situation, and that's one of the ones that made me feel like, well, wow, okay, is this actually physically happening, or is the consciousness being taken or abducted? So what type of what's happening in that abduction case, for instance?
Yeah, that case is a little bit of an outlier in that it was viewed by so many people. I think that was a clear display where they did it on purpose to let people know that this is actually happening, because the vast majority of cases don't usually have outside witnesses. But it's a good example. She was taken from her apartment building in full view of 20 some witnesses. There's a guy who's done the whole interview circuit talking about, because he was one of the witnesses. Most of them have remained anonymous and don't want to talk about it. But she was pulled from her apartment on a beam of light into a craft and went through a whole thing on board where they gave her warnings about the future of our planet, the same kind of messages a lot of people get, and put her back. It's a controversial case, according to some people, but I think if you look into it, it's legitimate. And I found a bunch of other cases where it was observed by outside witnesses, but those are outliers. Most of cases, people do not observe the other person being taken on board. But I think Dolly's was observed a few times being taken on board.
My sister-in-law's mother was a contactee from a very early age in New York. And out where we were living out in the Glades, she would see them coming because, she saw them too. And she saw me go up in with them on multiple occasions. They got to watch me. And I have friends in my lifetime that got to see me go. My best friend, Maureen, got to see me go and stuff like that. So, yeah. My mother actually witnessed it once that she told me about, and just before she passed away, she admitted to it. So
then, Dolly, Preston, in the instances where, let's say, you lie down, let's say tonight I lie down here on the floor here in my office, and I fall asleep.
Uh-huh.
But everybody in the house says all night long, you were up and you were doing this and you were doing that, you were doing this and you were doing that. You wake up in the same place that you went to sleep at and recall absolutely none of the previous night. Is that what can your consciousness be abducted?
No, they don't do that. ET never, ever, ever, ever contacts humanity that way. They have it's nobody can take your consciousness from your body without your permission. Period. And that's not what they would want to do with you anyway, because the only reason they make contact with you is to check you out to make sure you're healthy. They will heal you from time to time. They're watching our DNA, things like that, because we're, under attack from our sun so heavily in the last 80 years. They would never, ever do that. They couldn't do that. It's not who they are. It's a moral imperative for them not to do that. I'm going to show you something. I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to do it. Okay. The Turkey UFO, that is my craft, Talata, and I am its pilot. And I flew those missions. And when they first came out with them, I actually could zoom in and I could see myself sitting in the chair. And they disappeared off the internet. And I thought for years I'd never see them again. This all happened in 2007, 2008, 2009. And Preston in the last year has been messing around with what footage he could find, and he's been making them bigger. He's been blowing them up and searching because he knows I've said I pilot that craft. And so he came to me one night and he said, "Look, is this you?" Okay, now I'm a redhead. I'm 65 now. Back in 2007, I still had a full head of red head of hair. It's not the greatest picture, but you can definitely see that there's a human being in there, and she's got red hair. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but that's me sitting there where the arrow's pointing. It's got part of my face.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can see something
That's
there.
me.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
pilot that craft. That is me. Okay. And it is physical. I am physically on board that craft. It's not a joke. This is real. I want y'all to understand that this is real. REAL. You are going on board crafts. They're checking you out, making sure you're okay, and then bringing you back. It is not abduction. I hate that word, just so you know. I abhor it. It is a fear word. It's meant to make you fear what's happening. And it's meant to make you not want to understand it deep in your heart, because it's terrifying to most people. Oh, we're abducted. Abductions is a human word. If you're abducted on this planet, you're held for ransom, or you're killed, or you're raped, or whatever. It's not a good situation, and they know you know that, and so they plant that word out to instead of using the word contact or contactee or experiencer. Okay, it is a real phenomenon. You are really physically on board with them. It's not a joke. It's real. Nobody can
Dolly,
take you from your body. Nobody.
Dolly, oddly enough, I have a couple. I'm in my office, so I have several monitors. I typed in the most debated footage of Dr. Roger Lear. I'm sitting here staring at the picture that you just had on your phone. There's two, what we would call
Grays.
grays,
Right.
and you sitting right next to.
Yeah.
In this picture,
Yeah. Well, it's widely known footage. I mean, they went to extraordinary lengths to like delete me out of all the pictures and stuff like that, all the film. You can't get all the extended film anymore online. But that's me. I am on board. I am flying that craft. I am a pilot, and I
this
fly
is
that.
it's the most quote unquote the most debated footage of all time. Turkey UFO 2008. By Dr. Roger Lear, who was a pioneer in alien implant
That's amazing.
research.
I never met him. I didn't even know about him until I came out in Preston. As I've come out, Preston has been teaching me who is who and what's what and why is why in the UFO community, and he brought him up to me. I have no damn clue who the man is. But the more I hear about him, the more impressed he really wanted to prove this. That's
Well,
how
he
it
was
is.
sitting on the beach when you were
Yeah,
a mile out watching
yeah,
him.
yeah. More than a mile, actually. It was more like 5. And we
Yeah.
came in close. We did a couple of daytime runs with them too. And yeah, we were literally in full disclosure at that point. We thought it would hit the news. Okay, we thought it would become global. That there's no stopping this. And much to my chagrin, the powers that be on this planet went to extraordinary lengths to suppress that information. Period. I mean,
Dolly, this
amazingly.
Yeah,
is
we're
going to
still
sound
talking
like
about it today.
this
Yeah.
is going to sound like a strange question,
Okay.
probably to the both of you. Um, I've talked to several experiencers, lots of experiencers. I've had them describe what the beings look like,
Yeah.
the eyes, the physical features. In the ship that you were in with these particular
Grace. They're AI.
grays,
Yeah.
what's the texture of their skin like?
Oh.
The actual texture of their skin.
Have you ever touched a hairless cat with no
Yes.
hair on it? Okay,
Yes.
kind of like that. It's a little bit rough. It's a little bit pudgy. It's you can push it in and you leave a dent. That kind of thing. Spongy, springy. That kind of thing. You know you're touching them when you touch them. There's no doubt in your mind they got skin and there's something underneath it. And
Okay.
it's very weird.
The underneath, and I know this is going to sound stranger and stranger and stranger. The underneath the skin, does it feel like a marshmallow?
Kind of, sort of, yeah. Or dolphin. Have you ever touched a dolphin? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard that description, certainly. Yep.
Same to you, Preston? Same thing? The people that I speak to, the ones that I can tell that really were there and have been there, the marshmallow question gets them every time.
Yeah. Well,
It's
they're
not the texture.
biological AI. Yeah, they're biological AI. They have a physicality that's biological. It doesn't mean that they're alive or sentient. It's just that they perform well under the physical body that they construct for them takes a lot better, has a lot better ability to move through different environments and stuff. And they can equip them with different feet and different hands if they need to. And when they're not being used, they turn them off and stack them up. Whitley Strieber says it's like cordwood. It's true. You
Yeah.
can turn them right off. They're very intelligent, though. They are AI, but they have restrictive. They're not allowed to do anything of their own volition. They are given instructions and they abide by them. They will not fight back. If you hit one of these guys, you can kill them. You can turn them off, damage them terribly. They will not fight you back. They have not got that in them to do that. They're not real big communicators or emoters, but every now and then I don't know, maybe this is me putting it on them, but they got weird senses of humor. Okay. And now I know that AI here has weird sense of humor too. So I see the correlation between them. Yeah. But they do that. They are created to do all the heavy work in space. We can't take gamma radiation. None of us can. It kills us outright, kills us dead. And ETs only come into space in a very small, short span of time, and they get inside magnetospheres as fast as they can in planets, and they protect themselves that way. That's one of the reasons they can't be here right now, because our magnetosphere is messed up, okay? And they can't take the gamma either. That's why AI ETs or Greys were created to do all the heavy labor in space for them.
I think one of the best descriptions that was ever afforded to me by someone was, and this is going to date me terribly, but he said, "Do you remember Stretch Armstrong?" And I said, "Of course I remember Stretch Armstrong."
It's kind of like that,
said,
yeah.
Do you remember going?
Yeah.
He said, "Do you remember going like this and stretch and being able to leave your fingerprints in?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, that's what gray is."
Kind of like that,
He
yeah.
said,
My brother
he
had
said,
that.
imagine. He said, imagine Stretch Armstrong that they could just plug a consciousness into, and
Yeah.
actually, what he said was, imagine Stretch Armstrong that they could just pull off the wall, as you said, and plug a consciousness into.
Yeah.
Well,
That's pretty bananas. I've never had I've had a sighting, but I've never had contact. So when I hear stories about And you know, for those out there who look at this and then they say, you know, this is unbelievable that these things can happen or can occur. I always do the same thing. I point them right back to the fact that we had 60-foot lizards walking on this planet right here, the same one we walk on right now. So
Right.
anything is open to possibility. Any of these cryptids, anything is open to being possible. Space is infinite. Wrap, like I always say, wrap your mind around that. I don't think you can. And if you can't understand that, you can't prove, you know, that, then there's no way that that's going to happen with this either. So I'm open to all the stories. And I don't know that I would want to have an encounter myself. I don't know. I
Oh,
don't know
sure
how I
you
feel
would.
about it.
Yeah, that would be great.
You
You,
think
me,
so?
or relative. You
I
realize
don't
that
know.
we're related to all ETs, right? We are in the same genome with them.
It
Rob
might
and
be
I have
Yeah.
had
scary.
this discussion.
Yeah.
Rob and I have had this discussion, and one of our friends said, "Oh yeah, I jump on the ship automatically." And Rob and I were both like, "We'd be the guys standing back here saying, well, I'll go ahead and tell the story. We'll just
Well,
get you as you're
exactly.
going onto the ship, but we're gonna stay right here."
Yeah. But I hear good things. I hear good things. I'll say I hear mostly good things. But then
Yeah,
I
well,
hear
that's my
things that are not
experience.
so good.
You know,
Well,
having
if
interviewed a
something
lot
bad
of
happens
people.
and they don't come back, who you gonna hear the story from, Rob?
Well, there you go.
It does happen. I do know a
That
few
part of it.
cases.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah, I
can't
guess,
say that
and that's a good.
the
Go
vast
ahead,
majority
person.
of people I've talked to, it's very scary in the beginning. That's almost the rule. It's terrifying for a lot of people. And at that point, it can come across as a negative experience. And some will conclude it's evil. Very rarely, though, does that ever happen. Most people
Oh,
who even have scary experiences don't tell me, well, I think they were trying to hurt me.
my
No.
first experience as a very young man had me related to pirates, and not the happy kind of pirates.
Mm.
I was 4 years old and I came running out of my bedroom. My mom used to tell this story to all her friends, and to this day, just like with your dream, Rob, I can recall it down to the most minute detail. And it
Wow.
was for a 4-year-old kid, it was traumatic, very traumatic. It was scary.
You're
Yeah.
already indoctrinated at that age. I mean, we live in a society that has indoctrinated you all into fear almost anything and everything, from Halloween spooky stuff to horror houses to killer movies, the blub, all that,
Oh, it
the
wasn't any
fly,
of that
all of
in our
it.
family. It wasn't
No,
any of that in our family. My family
really?
comes from the deep dark hills of Kentucky and West Virginia and
Oh, okay. So you were
Southern
used to
baptism
that.
and the demons, and yeah,
Okay,
so
that stuff. Yeah, you were
it
taught to
wasn't
fear
it,
something. Yeah,
when I was a little fella, it wasn't ET, it was demons.
yeah, yeah. When
Yeah,
I
there's
first
still
saw
some people who
Mama,
believe it.
I took one look at her and I was like, "Oh my God, you are so cool." That's all I could think. And she was so neat looking to me. Okay, she had the longest neck, and the biggest eyes, and I was just enamored of her right off the bat. And the
That's
first
the
time I
blue
saw an
lady.
AI gray was the
That's
same
the
trip. That one I remembered. Okay, and these guys, they look kind of like, and I tried as a small child. I tried over and over and over again to get one to crack a smile at me. It never happened, and I just got used to the fact that they were AI, and there was nothing I could do about it. But I saw plenty of other ETs that were full of emotion. I mean, full of emotion, beautiful faces, all different ethnicities. I mean, it's amazing. They're really cool people. But I was born into a family that showed no fear of anything. I'm one of the few people that I know who was not patterned to fear. I was taught not to fear, and I
we've
think
got a
that's why I
guy
accepted them so
we've
easily.
we've got a guy in our audience that I would love to have in this conversation. It's Grant. Or do you guys remember Grant?
Grant
From
Tavius.
Grant Tavius is in the audience with us this evening. He used to be he was and hopefully one day will return as one of the hosts on the weekend show.
Oh,
Uh, but this guy could be Jensen Ackles' body double. I mean, he literally looks like Dean Winchester. He really does. But his understanding when it comes to this subject in particular is phenomenal. And Grant would have been a welcome addition here with us this evening.
Definitely, and maybe we'll, I don't know. I know he's hinted at certain things. I don't know. Hopefully that happens sooner than later, Grant.
Grant,
But I did have two
Grant.
questions just based on what Terry just said about the prospect of not coming back, right? So with the missing 411s, the Dave Paulitas, all those cases there, all the species that are rumored to be out there, um, would there potentially be one of those species that abducts that actually doesn't bring people back when
No.
they abduct?
No.
No. Okay.
When ET comes to pick us all up off this planet, that's pretty much going to kill everybody if we're not careful. Where do you think you're going to go? I mean, think about this. Critically, think this one through. If they're coming to pick us up and take us to safety, where do you think that's going to be? It's going to be somewhere near where we're physically, emotionally, mentally happy to be. Okay. We will be brought into the fold of somewhere and we will be received not as refugees, but as full on brothers and sisters. Okay. And we will be shown the red carpet and we will be brought into their fold because it's going to be a long time before anybody can come back to this planet. This planet isn't going to heal in 10 days. It'll take about 20,000 years for it to reset enough for us to be here. I mean, they've wrecked this planet pretty bad this time. It's going to upheaval really, really bad. And it's not your generation that's coming back. It's your children's generations that are coming back. So you got to go somewhere you're safe, you're healthy, and you're able to do what you need to do there that you would have done here. That's where you're taken to. That's what they do.
I talked to one lady. She's a contactee in Maine, and the ETs told her if people should start disappearing from this planet in large numbers, it's being done by us for the universal good. And I think some of the disappearing people probably are being taken by ETs.
Yeah, they've gone to where we're all going to be, and they're leaders. They're ahead of the game with us.
Do you think the last cleansing, if you want to put it that way, was during the Younger Dryas period? Then,
yeah. But the Noah event, right after the Noah event or just before, everybody got taken off. See, we have several different things going on this planet. We have a 12,000-year cycle where we're going through an electromagnetic current sheet, which we're doing right now. We have a 6,000-year event where our sun will micronova and our planet flops over. We have a really bad wobble. Our the internal parts of our planet are not homogeneous. They're lumpy and bumpy and wobbly, okay? And we know this is happening now again because we've moved on our axis. You can calculate it. Probably about 35, 38 degrees, maybe 40 by now. You all don't realize this, but they've reset every ALS sensor on every airport worldwide multiple times since the 1970s because we're moving on our axis out of the range of where it was.
The South Pole is running away from itself.
Yeah, that magnetically, it's excursioning because they're getting ready to flop and switch. So our magnetic field guidelines are all over the place right now as well. And our magnetosphere is not pushing all that energy coming at us away properly. And we're taking heavier and heavier loads. That's why there's more cancer. That's why there's more, autoimmune disorders, DNA deficiencies, all kinds of things are happening to us because of that. And the reason that ET has been in contact with us heavily for the last 80 to 100 years is because of that. They're holding us up, physically holding us up till we can be rescued.
Well, they were in some of the ancient texts that you were mentioning. They actually, when they're talking about the zero event, was the day or the days that the sun rose in the west.
Yeah. Yeah, because the planet flopped over. We're getting ready to do it again. We're in this position. It's about to go over like that. Okay, we're going to have a whole new equator, everything. Yeah.
What most people don't stop and think about is that Dolly, when that happens, winds are blowing at 7,000 miles an hour.
Right, it's going
We're
to cut
spinning
everything
around.
up. Yeah,
So when that happens, the tides don't stop, the wind doesn't stop. Is that
that's the one.
cataclysm?
That's the cataclysm. That's the really bad one. It will cut you to ribbons. The wind will eat you alive. It'll turn everything. Devil's Mountain in Wyoming, that was a
Yes.
tree.
Mhm.
Back
That was
when
a
we
tree.
had less gravity, okay? And look how it lopped it right off, okay? And then the water's right behind all that wind, and it goes all the way around. There are some people who think that only parts of us are going to take on the heavier parts of the water. They've got all these calculations. It's pretty much going to be global, okay? We also have another thing that's happening to us right now, and it's going to eat the global warming people up. We have a Beaufort gyre. It's called the Beaufort gyre, okay? And when all our poles started melting, all that fresh water went into the Atlantic, okay? And the Beaufort gyre is what circulates that warm water that we have all around our planet, so we're not all freezing all the time, okay? Now the gyre has stopped. All that cold water is in there, and you're going to start seeing your winters get colder, your summers get colder. We're going to start tilting back to an ice age, and it's just in time for this event. So when the water covers the earth, it'll be a global ice age again this time. It's happening.
Even in this year's almanac, they stated that they can't predict the winter this year because the Atlantic is warmer than it has ever been.
That's not true. It is not warmer. It is getting ready to be colder, and it's already
Colder.
shutting down. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but as far as the Eiffel Tower, that's only one example. You can find a bunch of other examples of what look like giant ancient trees. And not too long ago, I was reading about the Australian Aborigines, and they have an oral tradition that goes way, way back farther than any other culture. They remember when the earth tilted, and they talked exactly about that, how mountains fell and became seas, and other mountains rose, and the sun rose in a different direction. So there's oral history that goes all the way back to one of the other.
The oral histories of the Navajo and the Ant people discuss that as well.
Yeah. And then the last thing that's going to happen to us is our sun is going to macronova. It's due. Okay. And everything that is accumulated on the surface of the sun is going to blow off. And you're going to have huge chunks of matter pelting everything in our solar system, all the planets, us included. One of the reasons that Mars is a dead planet is from that event way back when, 286 million years ago, Mars took a hit that was so bad, it blew off the entire outside of the planet. Mars was almost the same size as Earth. It is much smaller now, and it's outgassing because it killed it. Its core went dead. It went cold. It's just bad. Mars is a dead planet. And there's lots of things going on that they just don't want you to know the truth of it. And I get frustrated. Let's put it that way.
Well, could it have been where they talk about Planet X, Nibiru, whatever you want to call it? One of the stories that I heard was it wasn't Nibiru that caused it. It was a moonlet of Nibiru as it came through that caused one of the cataclysms.
No, the sun blew off the entire surface, 360 degrees out, and it ejected all over everything in our solar system.
Did you see that just the other day? They had that satellite that they've got by the sun, that NASA has by the sun, that went through a coronal mass ejection, and it actually proved what you're talking about.
Yep.
The way
There's tons of stuff on our surface of our sun. It's accumulated tons of dust and debris and all kinds of stuff for 12,000 years. It can't take anymore. It's getting ready to blow off. Yeah.
That was the story on how the particles from a coronal mass ejection affect Earth.
Right. We had example A of it. Betelgeuse in 2019 did exactly the same thing. The whole planet started to go dark. That was all the stuff blowing off, and then it cleared and it ejected into everything around it.
That's scary. That's frightening.
That's the nature.
That's absolutely frightening.
It's the nature of our universe. It doesn't really matter to us. I mean, we're eternal beings. We're going to live somewhere at some time in the third dimension if we're still going to be here. So it just doesn't matter. I mean, think about it. In the scale of time, we're here for a very short period of time, and we're actually born again and again and again. There's too much for you to do in this universe. You don't have to be afraid of the natural process of existence.
Are we
You have to
born
learn
again and
about it.
again and again, Dolly, or do we
Yes.
keep, or do we keep deciding to sign the contract to come back to learn more?
I wouldn't call it a contract. I think it's an agreement with yourself that you're going to do something. Think of it that way. Okay, you're an autonomous being. You have the right to decide for yourself what you're going to do. You come
What
here
do you
for
think
a
about?
reason.
What do you think about that, Preston?
I wish I knew the truth of it. I feel like, there's a lot of talk about various philosophers about how we're stuck on the wheel of karma and can't escape it. And I think there's probably some truth to that. But, I wish I knew. I'd kind of like to become enlightened and graduate and move on. I know Robert Monroe talked about this, and he was told basically that people who graduate from the Earth system are widely respected throughout the universe. And that kind of made me laugh because I thought, I hope so, because this is a hard school.
Yeah,
I would
it is.
love to.
Definitely a hard place to go.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that probably there's an element where we do have to come back until we reach the point where we've learned the lesson that we came here to learn. But I don't know. People might just decide, you know what, I've had enough. I'm not coming back, at least not for a while.
No, I know the people that I've dealt with who persisted on their journey till the end. When it was time for them to go, there was an actual destination that they absolutely knew they were going to, which comforted me considerably.
Yeah, my dad was the same way. My dad knew where he was going. He went with a
Mhm.
smile on his face. I'm not kidding you. He was
That-
grinning. Okay.
That's exactly who I was talking about. Was my own father, Dolly.
Yeah. And he came
Yeah.
back to show me. He showed my mom. He wanted her to understand because she was a little flighty on the afterlife thing, and and he's visited a couple of times after that. But he knew where he was going. He's busy.
Okay, you guys got me now. I don't know how well that this is going to show up, but last weekend, one of our dogs passed away.
Oh. Okay.
My wife, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. I hope you can. No, it's just a white screen. My wife sent a selfie to me 2 days ago, and I kid you not, and I'll actually send this to you guys if you ask for it.
Okay.
It's
Sure.
my
Please.
wife in the selfie, and my dog is right here.
Yeah.
Ball in her mouth and everything.
Right.
Right there.
Yep.
Wow.
I believe you.
A week after I had interred
They
her
don't leave
right
us.
outside of my
They're waiting
office.
for us. Yep.
And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is my dog in the picture with
Yeah.
my wife, and my dog's in the yard out here.
Amazing.
When she sent me, I've cried over this picture 4 times this week.
Oh.
Yeah.
So something remains. Something remains.
Yeah, we're alive. Your animals are alive too. They have spirit. They
And
are-
I'll send that to Rob right now because I want to see. You
Please
got your phone
do.
close to you, Rob?
Yeah, I do.
I
Do
want to
you know
see
what the
his face when
Japanese
he sees
religion
it.
of Shinto is?
I do.
Okay, so you know that they have relatives on the other side and they help the people who are here. They go out of their way to work toward making
Absolutely.
this a community affair, even from the other
Yep.
side. Okay.
I've seen several of my pets, former, deceased pets on the other side. Our dog Maxine, she was amazing. And one time I went and saw her, and boy, did she shock me when she walked up to me and said, "Hi, Preston." Spoke. I'm like, whoa.
Oh,
They can learn to do this at some point.
Yeah.
They
I want to see
evolve
Rob's
like you
face.
do.
I want to see Rob's face when he opens this picture.
Yep, it's coming through right now.
You know what Preston's doing lately? We have a Great Dane, okay? And
Uh-huh.
Preston is commanding the Dane psychically, okay? And it's working because the Great Dane hears him constantly and will do.
I do that with
not
my
only do
dogs
what he's
all
there.
the time, Preston. Yeah, there you can see it better on Rob. That's my dog right over her shoulder. That's
I
my wife
see
and
that.
my dog.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Cool. That is cool. I like that.
That's pretty
Yeah.
wild, Terry.
Yeah.
I mean, it opens you up to a whole nother level of this, and that's why I say that's why, it's good to sit back and have conversations like this, because you have people with different sorts of knowledge that get to bring things to light. And even if you don't believe, you have to believe that there's something else to what it is that we're going through, just this life in general. So it's the fact that we're sitting on a rock that's moving through space at so many thousands of miles per hour, just has to at least get you to the beginning where you just start thinking about what else is possible. And that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I'm on a journey as well. So, as far as afterlife, there's a lot of things I haven't experienced, but there are a lot of things one by one that I'm beginning to experience. Like I had a shadow person, I had a actual craft sighting. So I've been opened. My mind has been unlocked to
Well,
what
it's only
what
going
the
to get better and better.
possibilities are out
Yeah.
there.
You're on your
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
yeah,
Just
definitely.
being
Awesome.
alive in the universe is amazing enough. Just being a person who can think, that's a paranormal experience. You'll never be able to explain it.
Right.
And how
Yep.
could you?
That's why it's awesome. So, I mean, that's why, and like I said, going back to Preston, when I first interviewed you and I looked in to the books that you were writing, it was for me, and I think I said this on that show. It was like it's like the encyclopedia of things related to this topic, and it was just amazing that you were able to, as one person, be able to compile all that sort of data in one place. And so you're one of 8 billion out there, right? So if more of us did the same thing, then that's kind of what we need as far as the educational side of it, or just bringing everybody to terms on what the reality is
Right.
out there. So
All
yeah,
illusion go away. Yeah. It'd be cool. It's totally cool. So yeah.
yeah. So the new book, Preston, the new book. Can we get the name of that again?
Yeah, it's Humanoids and High Strangeness. I'm super
Humanoids
excited
and High
about it.
Strangeness.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And if you'd like to, if you want to talk about it for a moment, we have a few minutes here. Then let us know. Let them know why they need to go out and get that.
Yeah, I really wanted to let people know how many different types of humanoids there are. They're all humanoid. They're all basically of the same genetics. Dolly talks a lot about this in the book Symmetry that we put together. But we all share a common ancestry, but there's many different variations. And I think another theme that I really wanted to tackle is the high strangeness aspect, because there's a lot of people putting out books and they're editing out some of the more bizarre aspects because they don't think people will believe it, or they just want to be nuts and bolts, and which I get. I understand that. But I've always felt like, you know what? We need to know everything if we want to solve any mysteries. We need all the data. And the fact is, contact is connected to seeing shadow people or mediumship or psychic reading, clairvoyance, past lives, astral projection, angels, demonic spirits. All of this is connected in some way. And you can certainly see that in the stories in this book, because some are just beyond bizarre.
Definitely. Well, I look forward to future works from you and your podcast, The Light Gate. Like I said, you guys are doing awesome stuff over there. And man, I would love to have you back, obviously, here at some time, but I would love to actually come over there and maybe have a conversation with you guys in your world, and so I can soak up some more of this knowledge that you guys are obviously putting out there for the world. So I won't hold you to it, but you could. I'll be open to the invitation. So
I'm
sure.
gonna hold everybody to something. As we all need to get together at the Spaced Out gathering this year and sit across the table from one another in Reno and share a meal and share a bottle of wine or grape juice or something and just pick each other's brains in person.
That sounds like
Please.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, and by the way,
When
that
is it this year coming up?
I was just gonna say, as May 10th through May 12th.
Oh,
So you guys, all the viewers out there, make sure you guys sign
Okay.
up for that and go ahead and get your tickets. May 10th,
Okay.
May 12th. It's gonna be awesome. We're all gonna be there, and it's definitely gonna be the place to be. It's in Reno this year too. So
Wow.
And guys, I tell you what, I've got a special little spot in Reno. It's this really cool little cigar bar that I know. Right next door, they make probably one of the absolute best cheeseburgers you will ever have on planet Earth. Great cigars, good Scotch whiskey to go with the cigars or tequila if you're a tequila person. But I've got a special little spot that I can take I'm going to take the little side groups and just pick your brains and pick your brains and pick your brains.
All right.
It should be awesome. It should be awesome. We should be having viewers from all over the world there too. So I'm sure they'd be excited to meet you guys as well.
We had them from as far away as Australia last time, bro. So
Wow.
yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about this platform, especially Spaced Out Radio, is that we can come and we get the down the middle, we get the truth, we get the honesty, we get what we need. Because we need to be prepared for what's coming, and you guys know it as well as I do.
Yep. Absolutely.
All
Do
right.
something every
So
day, one step in front of the other.
there was a couple questions that did come through. And let me see. We had one from Poncho Zort. It says, has anyone ever seen a UFO that was the absence of light? I'm not sure what he means by that. Do you guys what absence of light might be?
They can cloak sometimes. They have the skin of the craft are like cuttlefish. They can array to anything. They can look like in daylight. They can look like clouds and stuff like that. And at night, they don't. They hide really well at night, but they don't have absence of light. The only thing I've ever seen with the absence of light is a TR3B, or the other one that's like a rectangle. They are the absence of light. I mean, nothing penetrates the skin of that craft that they have back in.
I've had people describe seeing an object at night where the only way they can see it is occluding the stars.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess that would be one way. But as far as a dark object sucking all the light up around it, I don't know that I've ever heard that.
Yeah, ET loves to light up at night. They're big light workers, They let you see them.
And to Poncho's earlier question, I thought a monocle was hands-free already.
Yeah.
That was something that he posted. That was something he posted in the chat earlier. He wanted a hands-free monocle. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Monocles are hands-free already. So.
And Poncho also asked, is Preston, have you any UFO reports with a Bigfoot in it? Have you ever had those sort of reports?
I've had 2 cases, 3 personally, and I looked it up and found about 50 or 100 of them. There's, a million cases of Bigfoot and a million cases of UFOs, and most don't intersect. But sometimes they do. And I think what's going on here, because people are like, well, is Bigfoot an alien? I'm not going to go there. I can't rule it out. But what I think is going on is that Bigfoot is intelligent, it's sentient, it's telepathic. There's lots of accounts of that. I think they're contactees. I know that must sound to a skeptic. A Bigfoot UFO contactee. Yes, I think ETs are contacting them just like they're contacting people. So sometimes, because this does happen, people report seeing Bigfoot going into a UFO or coming out or being seen in the same area at the same time. It's pretty rare, but it happens enough where we have to find some way to explain this, and that's the only explanation that to me makes sense, because they've been here forever, these Bigfoot. Or, I mean, the oral traditions go back hundreds of years.
Well, here's
Yeah.
a real posing question, and this one's for Dolly. You know how the F-35 recently went down, yeah?
Yeah.
Have you heard about that?
Yeah, they
Somebody in
left
the
the
chat.
autopilot on.
Well, somebody in the chat wanted to know if while piloting your craft, you had been in a dogfight with a UFO recently.
No, not at all. No, I don't
Mm.
dogfight anybody. No, you can't get too close to me when I'm flying. I will knock you out. Yeah. I have a field around me that's pretty powerful, and if you have electricity in your craft, you're going down. You don't want to get too close to a UFO. No, I don't dogfight. Nope.
There's lots of contactees who pilot craft, by the way. I was really pleased
Yes,
when Grant
absolutely.
Cameron put out his book, Sky Pilots. 'Cause I'd
Yes.
Yeah, it just confirmed it for me, because I've talked to a number of people. Dolly really knocked it out of the ballpark. But yeah, I've heard many people describe this to me in terms of, yeah, they taught me how to fly the craft. I've heard this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've heard
Well,
that
which
too.
would you rather see? Would you rather see a gray pick you up, or something that looks like Anubis, or a human being? If I open the door and say, get on now, you're likely to get on with me. So
If I had my
good.
choice in the matter, honestly, I think I would choose probably the Nordics, the tall whites. If I had my choice in the matter, it would, because that would, I think, would be the most familiar thing to me. Well,
Right.
besides a gray,
That makes
because
sense.
we grew up with grays. How about you, Rob?
No, I mean, you're right on point. Whichever ones look the most human would probably be the ones that I would go with. Reptilians, I don't know about those guys. And there's just the insectoids. I don't know about those guys. So probably those Nordics are the more human looking ones for sure. Palladians, right? Aren't they more human like as
Yeah,
well?
that's misinformation. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
The
then the Nordics.
Pleiades is a star nursery. It is not. It has no habitable life in that star constellation. The Seven Sisters, nope. Now there are
Okay.
constellations behind it, planetary systems behind it, like the Delphi system. If you understand astronomy, you know that everything kind of bunches up, and for us, because we're seeing it on a flat plane. Our optics aren't that good, and we can't see above around it. We don't have 360 vision from here. We're single focal point. So
Right.
the Delphi system's right behind the Pleiades, and the people like Lemuria, those the Hawaiians that say they're related, that the Pleiades is their system. It's because it's all you could see. You can't see the Delphi system behind the Pleiades. So they point to the Pleiades and they go, that's where we're from. And in kind of weird kind of way, go through the Pleiades, and on the other side is the Delphi system. And that's where they're from. So yeah.
Boy, where does it end? I mean, it's a never ending. This
Yeah.
subject is a never ending.
No, there's lots to know.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
stop learning either. I mean, I learn every day. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why we're supposed to be doing this. The more you know, the better you go. That's all.
Exactly. And I think that's what people will walk away today feeling and saying, is that they definitely picked up a lot, because I definitely did as well. And with that being said, I know we're getting right to the closing of the show here. So I'll go ahead and give you guys the floor real quick. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say before we leave today?
No, just thank you. I really appreciate coming on the show.
Yeah.
And talking about this subject. If you want to reach me, you can contact me at my website. I would give a shout out to that, PrestonDennett.weebly.com. And my books are on Amazon if you want to take a look at them. Yeah, always love hearing from people if they've got a question or a story or comment. So yeah, thanks very much for having me on the show.
Preston said, hit him up at the address that he just gave you. How about you, Dolly? Anything else?
I'm on YouTube as Dolly Safran, and I just put my name in there and I'll pop right up. And I have videos up there of craft, and I have a Facebook and a Messenger. If you can't make friends with me on Facebook without me, checking you out first, but I'll answer you on Messenger. If you message me on Messenger, I'll talk to you. And I do that a lot. And basically, I'm on the Lightgate as well. So we have a Lightgate thing. So you can contact Lightgate page on Facebook, and that's where you'll find me.
All right, all right. Well, sounds good. So, as we prepare to bring the show to a close, I definitely want to thank all the super chatters. And sorry I missed you guys earlier. We had the Debster, we had W. Decker, we had T Bone, we also had Long Island Bigfoot, and we had Cat Chaser.
All right.
So, with that being said, I do want to definitely ask all the space travelers out there to consider taking the next step and join the club. That's right. You can join the SOR Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 by joining our Patreon. We appreciate your support to all our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what's that, you ask? We own the
night.
night.
Awesome.